Neko women, the most interesting, well, anime phenomenon. Elon, where's my fucking cat girl, bro? Well, it is one of the most popular sides of the internet. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about our main character. Izuku Midoriya was a Neko with One For All. How that turned the series out? Well, you have to figure that out until you see for yourself. Let's begin.
Can someone without a quirk become a hero like you? The teenager had his eyes closed out of nervousness. How could he not? He was in front of the greatest hero in the world asking the most important question of his life. Because I don't have a quirk, well, maybe that's not the only reason. But I've always been picked on. That's why. That's why. I think that saving people is just about the coolest thing someone can do. He spoke nervously while playing with his thumbs. Then with passionate eyes, he raised his head with a big grin. The way you save people with a fearless smile. I want to be the strongest hero, just like Wide Way Out. In front of him wasn't the muscular man known as All Might. Instead, there was a scrawny-looking guy. After the great shock of the boy, the man proceeded to confirm that he was indeed the great hero All Might, and then told him about his current situation, about the wound on his left side of his torso, the reason for his smile. Without power, can one become a hero? No, I should think not. All Might said without realizing how much damage he was causing to the kid. The scrawny man stood up and began to walk to the exit. It's not wrong to dream. However, you need to be realistic, kid. Those words felt like a guillotine falling with all its might, cutting him in half. If you excuse me, the adult tapped the pocket on his pants, or a bottle was filled with the sludge villain. I have a villain to deliver to the police. He left the boy on the empty rooftop. The teenager stood there with his open mouth, while his eyes were filled with terror. He was frozen. The pain in his heart and the lump in his throat didn't let him move an inch. He began to shiver as tears started to appear on his eyes. This day was without a doubt the second worst day of his life. The first one was when he received the news from a doctor that he wasn't going to develop a quirk because of his pinky toe, and on that same day when he looked for reassurance on his mother, she said the words he wasn't looking for. And now, today. Apart from what just happened, his entire class knew he was going to apply for UA high school, and made fun of him for it, and if that wasn't enough, his childhood friend and current bully, Katsuki Bakugo, didn't take it too well. After staying 10 minutes on the rooftop, the boy, Izuku Midoriya, was on the street on his way somewhere. He still had some tears on his eyes, which he was wiping away. Don't cry. You knew already, right? He scolded himself in his head. He began to rub his eyes with his wrists. It doesn't matter, you are still a hero, Izuku. Now stop crying and put your best smile for her. Taking his own words, Midoriya smiled as if nothing had happened. It was like All Might said. Smile to stave off the overwhelming pressure and fear. The student began to jog with a big smile to see her. XOX. She wasn't a person but an animal, a stray cat to be precise, a female black cat that he met 2 years ago. It was a normal day, he was on his way home. Like always, he was entertained in his notebook where he wrote everything about heroes, but then a noise took him back to reality. It was a meow. The teenager looked everywhere, trying to find the source of the sound. When he heard it again, he moved his eyes up, finding a black cat stuck on a tree. It was clear that the animal couldn't find a way to climb down. Ah, it has to be pretty terrifying to be that high up. The boy wondered aloud. I should call the firefighters. He pulled out his cell phone to do just that. What? No way, the battery died. But I'm sure I charged it this morning. Sai, do I have some change to make the call? He reached his back pocket and when he touched it, he felt nothing, and that was a big problem. Where is my wallet? Where? He inspected every pocket and even his school bag, but the wallet was nowhere to be seen. Izuku began to worry more as the time passed until a meow stopped him right away. He looked at the cat again. What am I doing? Someone needs my help. But what can a quirkless like me do? He wasn't confident, how could he? Everyone has been there to stop and shatter his dream. Then a memory came to his mind. The debut of a certain hero, *, a man was getting out of a big disaster. The strong-looking man had a ton of people on his back, carrying them with a smile. He'd already rescued hundreds of people in 10 minutes. Fear not. Why, you ask? 'Cause I am here. *. Before Izuku could notice it, he was already a few meters away from the black cat. He didn't know how he had gotten that far, but that didn't matter. He extended his arm towards the cat. Come here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Don't worry, there is nothing to fear. Fear. Because I'm here. Izuku managed to put a forced and shaky smile on his face. He was afraid. If he fell now, he was as good as toast. The boy began to approach slowly. The cat, on the other hand, wasn't looking very friendly, it was hissing at him. It clearly didn't want him there. With a firm conviction, the young boy proceeded, passing his hand under the animal's belly, trying his hardest to ignore the pain of the scratches and bites. The teenager put the cat against his chest, trying to hug it. It's okay, it's okay. You're not in danger anymore. I'll protect you. His actions paid off, seeing that the animal was calming down. As he got down of the tree, the animal immediately jumped off of him and started running, and finally getting out of sight in a corner of the street. Izuku had the brightest face of his life. Was that how being a hero felt like? The warmth in his heart felt incredibly good. Of course, he knew what he did wasn't anything out of this world, and probably no one was going to be impressed about it. Heck, if he told Kaken, he would probably make fun of him, but Izuku didn't care. This was the right thing to do and he felt happy about it. He didn't even care for his bleeding hand. Okay, he should probably care about his hand. That wasn't the last time he saw that stray cat. He encountered it again the next day, but at least the animal wasn't in a tree this time. The boy and the animal locked eyes. The student found himself lost in those emerald orbs until a hiss brought him back. The sound was like if she was saying, "What do you want?" in an aggressive way. Izuku crouched. "Are you hungry?" he asked, even knowing they couldn't comprehend each other. Another hiss came out, which he interpreted as, "Get lost." "Wait here, I'll return in a sec." The green-haired boy got up and jogged away, leaving the feline there. A couple of minutes later, he returned as he had promised. "Here, eat up," he said with a smile, putting down a plastic plate on the ground. "It's takoyaki, I bet you'll like it." With hesitation, the animal got close to the plate, sniffing it a little and then start to eat it. The boy moved his bandaged hand toward the feline to pet it a little but was stopped by a hiss from the animal. Sorry, I won't bother you anymore." A few minutes passed until the plate was empty, making a big grin to sprout on the boy's face. He had his eyes closed due to his smile, but he opened them when he felt something rough on his injured hand. When his eyes opened, he found the feline licking him, looking at him with apologetic eyes. He smiled again. "Don't worry, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Besides, it's proof that I was able to rescue you." He petted it. The cat no longer seemed to be against it. "I'll call you Nico. Why, yeah, not the brightest name, sorry." From that day on, he started meeting with the feline every day after school. It was a nice change of pace. One of those days, he was looking for Nico. He had already bought some takoyaki, her favorite. He found the cat on the other sidewalk of the street when the feline saw him. It began to jog in his direction, meowing happily, unaware of a car that was moving at high speed, but the boy did notice. "Watch out." Without even realizing, he was already in midair over the road. He embraced the cat and rolled away, narrowly dodging the car, which brakes abruptly. From the driver's seat, a man in a black suit came down. He wasn't happy. "Do you have any idea of what just happened? You almost got yourself killed." Midoriya just bowed his head apologetically, without retaliating the yelling. Nico, on the other hand, was growling furiously at the man. The boy could almost hear her. Fuck off. This is your own fault, stupid human. The only thing that prevented her from tearing apart the man was Izuku, who hugged her tightly. Enough of this. Another yell came from the car, but surprisingly it was for the man. Didn't you see he saved that cat because of your reckless way of driving? It was a woman, actually a teenager of about his age. She wore a red fancy dress, hinting she was someone important. She also wore red heels and jewelry. She had long black hair that was tied into a spiky ponytail with a single bang hanging on the right side of her face and onyx eyes that seems to resemble a cat. Ah, Miss Yaoyorozu, please forgive me. The man immediately apologized, bowing. Izuku's eyes were glued to the girl, who defended him. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Without him noticed, a blush crept on his cheeks. The girl approached him. Are you okay? Are you hurt somewhere? She asked with a worried look. Taking him by surprise, the boy snapped out of his trance. Eh? Ah, yes, I know. I am not hurt or anything. He stuttered with a flush on his face. He was too nervous because that was his first time talking to a girl, and the prettiest he'd ever seen on top of that. Yeah, there was no way he wouldn't get nervous in front of her. The girl put her right hand on her chest and gave a sigh in relief. I'm glad to hear that. But even after that, she still had a puzzled face. Are you going to press charges? What? No. No. And no one is hurt, so there's no point in that. Don't worry. He negated with his hand while holding the feline with the other. The girl smiled with his response until some words came out of the boy. Ah, it didn't survive. What? She freaked out, looking everywhere, trying to find the victim. Ah, so sorry, it was my bad choice of words. Izuku apologized immediately. I was saying that my tea takoyaki didn't survive. He pointed to the mashed food that was currently under one of the wheels of the car. JG's. Don't scare me like that. She yelled at him with a pout on her face. After a few seconds of silence, both teenagers began to laugh. Midoriya didn't have a way of knowing, but the girl was very thankful to him. She was a little nervous before because she was on her way to an important meeting and a good laugh was just what she needed. Lady Yaoyorozu, if we don't hurry, we're going to be late for the meeting. Speaking about the devil, the driver reminded her about it. The young woman nodded with a smile. Well, I'm glad everything is okay. Here, this is for your food. She gave him a handful of money, and then turned around and got into her car. Ah, wait. This is too much money for her, and she's gone. We didn't even exchange names. He said a little depressed. Yaoyorozu. He echoed her family name in a low tone and smiled. Overall, he was happy to have talked to a pretty girl. He then lowered his gaze and looked at Nico in his arms. It looked mad with him for some reason. What? He asked, tilting his head a little. Slap the cat gave him a Nico slap, making him squeak an ouch. It was something cute but still, hurt a little. After that day, their bond grew even more, and strong emotions didn't lack for long. Izuku often found himself saving the feline from various things, such as a pack of dogs, other stray cats or even bad people looking for something to entertain themselves. And soon after, the boy began to think of himself as the hero of that black cat. On a rainy day, the animal was shivering because she had nothing to protect herself from the rain. She was astonished when she noticed the boy in front of her with an umbrella over their heads with a big smile on his face. It wasn't surprising that the cat jumped on his arms. They took refuge under a bridge until the storm stops, the same bridge where he would be attacked by a sludge villain in 2 years, and then saved by his hero. When moments like this happened, the young man shared his life with the feline. He told her everything. About his childhood friend turning a bully, about him being quirkless, about his dream. Yeah, it was nice to open up to someone that didn't judge or neglect you because of the absurdity of your dream. It made him truly happy. And like that, 2 years passed until the current day, where he was rejected by his biggest hero. As usual, he had a plastic bag with a bowl of takoyaki in it. He has been roaming the area, looking for the animal without much luck. Izuku proceeded to cross the street, making sure the light was green. But, without a warning, a car turned from a corner at full speed. By the look of it, it could be said they were thieves, and behind them were police patrols to confirm it. They were going to hit him, if not because he felt something was pushing him away from the road. Everything happened in slow motion due to the adrenaline. In midair, he rotated himself to look at the person who pushed him. But much to his horror, he found Nico there, in the air. Everything went to normal as he saw how the thief car hit her and threw her up in the air. His eyes and mouth went wide in horror. No longer than 10 meters away from him, the thieves were caught by a hero, but the teenager didn't care in the slightest. No, 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 no. With tears in his eyes, the boy began to crawl desperately on the direction of his companion. When he reached her, he took it in his arms. It was still alive, but not for long if all the blood around him was an indicator. No, Nico, no, this is not happening. You're going to be all right, okay? He began to lull her on his arms as uncontrollable tears fell from his eyes. No, this is not happening, this is a dream, yeah, it has to be. He denied with his head desperately. Someone, please, someone, wake me up. The boy gritted his teeth while squeezing his eyes. Meow. Her voice made him open his eyes, forcing him to accept that this was the cruel reality. He hugged her tight, whimpering and whining over her, feeling that if he stopped hugging her, she would disappear. With her last drops of strength, the feline approached her head to the boy and licked his lips to finally let her head rest to never wake up again. Izuku began to cry loudly towards the sky, like if he was cursing everything. What is this day? Why did this happen? It was like if the world itself was telling him to quit trying being a hero. Why was he alive? What was he born for? What was his purpose? Memories came to his mind. So Deku, the quirkless wonder thinks he can play hero, huh? The first one was from Kaken when they were kids. I'm afraid there's no hope for him. The second was from the doctor that told him he was quirkless. I'm sorry Izuku, I'm sorry. The third was from his mother. It's not wrong to dream. However, you need to be realistic, kid. And last, his hero, All Might. This was too cruel. As he cried more of his heart crumbled. Being a hero? What a foolish person he was to have such a dream. He couldn't even protect an animal, how did he expect to save people? He was worthless. He should have followed what Kaken said. He should have jumped from the rooftop, expecting to have a quirk in the next life. Nobody responded to the boy's cries. Everyone was cheering the hero who stopped the thieves. No one had noticed the boy except for said hero. The man ignored the people around him. He had his eyes wide open, looking at the boy meters away from him, crying for a cat. The hero gritted his teeth underneath his helmet and clenched his fists. I wasn't fast enough. The turbo hero Ingenium scolded himself. He couldn't approach the boy either. He had nothing to say that could comfort the teenager. I'm sorry. That was everything he could say in his head. It was frustrating. He fulfilled his duty as a hero, but was he really a hero when he couldn't even comfort a kid? XOX. I'm home. Izuku Midoriya announced himself. Welcome home, Izuku. Inko Midoriya responded, approaching the door to see her son. Dinner is going to be ready in. She stopped in mid-sentence when she saw the looks of her son. What happened to you? She asked worriedly. Izuku's uniform was stained with dried blood, his hands were covered in dirt while his nails bled a little. It was like if he had dug something with his bare hands. But what concerned her most were his eyes. They were red, which indicated that he had been crying a lot recently. They were also empty, devoid of light. If it wasn't because she heard his voice before, she would believe he was dead. Sorry, Mom. I'm not. I don't have appetite. I'm going to be in my room. I want to be alone for a while. The boy passed her mother on the way to his room, leaving Inko perplexed. It's not until the door of his room closed that she reacted again. Izuku, tell me what happened. She pleaded on the door of his room, but he didn't answer. She could have entered his room. She knew the door wasn't locked but decided to follow what her son told her. The green-haired mother sat on the sofa, turning on the TV. Maybe that would help her ease her anxiety. On the news, a reporter was interviewing a hero. Ingenium, what can you tell us about this case? The reporter asked. I'm sorry, there are things I want to think about. There's still a long road ahead to become a better hero. The hero's response impacted every reporter. He sounded depressed. Inside of Izuku's room, the boy was on his bed in a fetal position. Both of his hands were covering his eyes, trying his hardest to stop the tears that were falling from them. The boy was broken in so many ways that he didn't know what he was anymore. XOX. Sawano Hiroyuki, Cage. The young Izuku opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was blue like the sky. No, as a matter of fact, he was looking at the sky. He sat up and saw that he was on a cloud. Am I dead? The boy wondered out loud. He stood up and looked at his surroundings. Without a doubt, it was the sky. He spotted something far beneath him. It was his city. If you had a quirk, would you protect them? A feminine, almost angelical voice echoed around him. Even if I have to put my life on the line for them, yes. The boy answered calmly without taking his eyes from the city below. The words came out of his mouth naturally. I see. So, do you want power? The feminine voice asked again. No. He responded. Oh, why not? The voice sounded curious. What I want is the capability to protect them. Power is just one of the means for it, Izuku answered. Umu. Then, you want to be famous, right? The questions continued. I want to be recognized. His voice was almost like a whisper. Is there a difference? Yes, I don't care if I'm admired. What I want is for people to feel safe when they see me. He confessed. What about the money? The voice continued. What about the people? He questioned this time. Nihihi, would you kill someone if you saw yourself in an unavoidable situation? It sounded serious this time. I'd like to save everyone, but even someone like me knows how foolish it would be something like that. I know the moral implications about killing, but like every hero is not entirely good, every villain is not entirely bad, so even killing is not completely bad. In some situations, death can be seen as an act of mercy or a necessary evil. The problem is that it's hard to discern the line. He finished. Wow, deep, but you haven't answered my question. The voice said. I would try to avoid that unavoidable situation, he answered. And if you couldn't? It pressed him even further. I would try to find a way out of it. And if there isn't? I would delay it until someone else helps me, until someone else finds it. I don't have to be alone in this. He concluded. Then if you knew your answer, what was all that stuff you said early for? I wanted to sound cool, I guess. He answered with a little smirk, and he knew the voice was smirking as well. Have you lied to me? I don't think I could lie to you. Will you smile for them? Yes. Will you smile for me? That was the last question. The teenager turned around with the brightest of smiles on his face, giving it to the woman that was behind him. The woman was smiling back at him. I had the feeling it was you. Nico. Izuku said with a gentle look on his eyes. The woman was wearing a black dress that went down to her ankles. She was barefoot. Actually, she was only wearing the dress. Her skin was like porcelain. Her hair was black and long, falling to her waist from where a slender black tail came out. On top of her head, 2 black cat ears twitched ever so slightly. Geez, couldn't you think of a better name? She mocked him. I know. His voice began to crack as tears started to overwhelm his eyes. I'm sorry. He covered his eyes as his legs falter, falling on his knees. She approached him, kneeling in front of him, embracing the fragile boy. You were always a crybaby. I'm sorry, I couldn't protect you. I couldn't save you. He couldn't stop crying. What are you saying? Tears were now presented in her eyes. You saved me so many times that I lose the count. They stayed like that for what felt like an eternity. What is this place? Where am I? Izuku asked, already calm. I call it your inner mind, I suppose. The woman replied. Why am I here? How are you here? Now he asked the questions. Isn't that obvious? You're here because I want to give you a quirk, she said with a smile. And I am here because I can. Remember the kiss I gave you? He nodded. The lick on my lips. He pronounced. Yeah, she said with a blush. Oh, come on. You should feel happier about it. It was from a beauty like me. She started shouting when she didn't saw a reaction from him. You were a cat, he said. And so what? It's still 100 times better than eating a stupid strand of hair. She was really energetic. What? He asked, really confused. Never mind. The thing is that I'm going to give you a quirk, okay? She said, a little exasperated. Okay, the boy smiled. What is it? Good. The quirk is called feline. It's not like the quirk cat, got it? Izuku nodded, reminding himself to write down everything later. This quirk will give you access to the capabilities of all the feline family, but even more awesome. Izuku couldn't help but look impressed. And that would be? He asked, really excited. Nyee, glad you asked. I'll give you some examples. First, the strength of a tiger. Second, the speed of a cheetah. After that is the agility of a lynx, and that is just the beginning. You also have the bite of a jaguar. That sounds awesome, Izuku commented. She continues. The libido of a lion. She said. No, I don't think I need that one, he said deadpanned. That was one of the best. She muttered. Well, there's all the abilities that the feline family shares, you know, like climbing and all that. There are other amazing abilities that I'm going to inhibit for the time being. She explained. Why? Izuku asked curiously. Because you're still not ready for them, of course. She scolded him. But I can give you a hint. She showed him a mischievous grin that would put in shame the Cheshire Cat. Think in every superstition there is about our family, our genealogical tree, and even mythology. He nodded. I don't quite get it, but everything sounds incredible, he said enthusiastically. Are there any drawbacks? He asked. Nico moved her hand to her chin, trying to think on any. I guess that would have to be the primal instincts, so be careful with those laser pointers, balls of yarn, catnips, and all that. Oh, and watch out for those heat seasons, she said with her right index finger up. What? The green-haired boy screamed. That last one was the most alarming. I know you're not a female, but your powers are coming from me, so there's still a possibility. The problem is that I don't know when the first ones will start. It could be this year or in 5. So, be careful, because you're going to look more attractive to the opposite gender. She warned him. Izuku was covering his red face with his hands. So basically, he is a walking horny time bomb. Well, don't sweat it, Izuku. She continued. With training, everything is possible, and speaking of training, you will have to do a lot of it. This is not a free booster or anything, so if you really want to achieve the true potential of this quirk, you'll have to train hard. Understood? The boy nodded, showing a serious face. Oh, and by the way, there are some rules I want to state. Izuku gave her all his attention. I want you to grow some backbones, do you hear me? We, the feline family, are proud, and we don't tolerate anyone who thinks less of us, so show some confidence, okay? It's really painful to watch you, the woman said with an exasperated expression. Ah, but I don't want you to become like that prick of your childhood friend. I encountered him once, and you know what he said to me out of the blue as soon as he saw me? Izuku gave her a worried look. What are you looking at, dog face? He called me dog face. How am I a dog? Egg, I want to tear him apart right now. The feline woman was really steamed up about it. Yeep, that's cackin', the teenager said in his mind. So, any other thing you want to know? The black-haired woman asked now that she had calmed down. I would like to know about you, he said with a fainted smile. I told you everything about myself. Now, I want to know you. She gave him a gentle smile and nodded. She sat down on the soft cloud, making herself more comfortable. Izuku did the same. Well, where do I start? She looked up, contemplating the blue sky. I was born in the Takoba Municipal Beach Park, but all the garbage there made it impossible to live. Her story was long. Izuku didn't know how much time he spent there, but he didn't care. He paid her all his attention. It was an enjoyable time. And now we're here. She smiled at him, finishing her story. Okay, I think that's all the time we have. She got up, noticing the sad expression on the boy's face. I'll see you later, Izuku. She smiled at him. Wait, later? His voice was one of total disbelief. Of course, you dummy. I will be living here from now on. I am you quirk after all. She beamed him a grin. Wait! Izuku exclaimed. Why are you giving me this quirk? He said in a melancholic way. True be told, if he had to choose between a quirk or that she was alive, he'd choose her without a second thought. Naihihi, what stupid questions you ask. A tender smile sprouted on her face. Because. You can become a hero, Izuku. Those words immediately put tears in the boy's eyes. He grabbed his heart. I want everyone to see the great hero you are. He fell on his knees again. Those words that he desired so much to hear were finally being pronounced. Because you are. My hero, Boku no Hero. He began to cry like a baby as the wind blew on his face. Everything around him was turning white. When you've done everything, I will be waiting for you here. Now, go save them. Izuku. XOX. The boy opened his eyes slowly, calmly. The first thing he saw was the ceiling of his room. He sat up and the first thing he noticed was the damp on his eyes as some tears fell from them. He moved his right hand to touch his eyes, but when he did... Ouch! He whined, feeling that something pricked him. When he saw his hand, he found that his nails were really sharp and pointy. They were more like claws now, exactly like the ones Nico had when he saw her on his dream. Something behind him moved swiftly. When he turned his head, he found a black tail with green highlights, just like his hair. Izuku! What happened? A worried Inko burst in from the door. I heard you scream. She froze in place when she saw her son, or to be honest, his new physical changes. Sharp nails, a wiggling tail, cat ears on his head that moved cutely, 2 marks like tattoos on both cheeks resembling cat whiskers, but overall, his eyes. They looked like 2 big emeralds. His irises were bigger and his pupils were narrow. The look of disbelief wasn't only on Inko's face, but on Izuku's too. The boy looked at his right hand again. It wasn't just a dream. He said on his mind, then suddenly, his claws extended out of nowhere, making him fell down of his bed with a scream. I can't believe you doubted me for a second. The same feminine voice rang inside his head with indignation. Very well, open wide. Izuku did as the doctor said, showing him the inside of his mouth. Asterisk whistle asterisk with these babies, you can be considered an apex predator for sure. He wasn't kidding, the boy's fangs were larger than normal and apparently very resistant. It was a mystery how they fitted in his maw. How do you feel it, Midoriya-kun? Izuku traced his teeth with his tongue. It doesn't hurt or anything. It feels as good as always. The teenager was currently in the hospital with his mother. It has been 3 hours since he woke up with his new appearance. Naturally, the first course of action was to see a medic for a checkup. Okay, extend your right hand please. The doctor took it and then pressed the tips of his finger one by one, pulling out the boy's claws. Can you control them at will? Not yet, the green-haired boy shook his head. I don't know how they work. I would actually be a concern if you knew how to. This is how everyone feels for the first time when they develop their quirks, just give it some time. The apparently normal-looking doctor continues with his left hand. I assume is the same with your tail. Like a response, the slender tail show itself, refusing to stay still. And this might be the explanation of why you came barefoot. There was something that neither Izuku nor Inko noticed when he woke up. From his knees downwards, his feet shapeshifted for hind legs of a feline, the fur was the same as his hair, and when he put his shoes on to go to the doctor, claws coming from them ripped the shoes up like hot knives to butter. Why yes, Izuku replied, scratching the back of his head a little embarrassed. Well, Midoriya-kun, sit here, please. The doctor patted a stretcher while a tentacle came from his back and grabbed a little reflex hammer. Do your legs feel weird by any means? He asked as his tentacle gave him the hammer. No, like my teeth, ears, and tail, they feel as if they've always been there. The boy explained, contemplating his new legs. Okay, the doctor swung the hammer lightly to get a response from his right leg but didn't expect what happened next. In a matter of an instant, huge claws came from it as the boy kicked. The doctor proved to have great reflexes as he dodged, but his white coat got ripped. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I didn't mean to. Izuku began to shout worriedly, showing genuine concern for the doctor's well-being, but was interrupted by the hand of the man and a smile on his face. Don't worry, Midoriya-kun. Doctors like me that deal with quirks on a daily basis are used to this kind of situation. It was actually my fault. I should have been more careful about it. The doctor dismissed his worries with a smile. After checking the boy's reflexes, being very careful about it, the doctor went into more complex tests, taking around an hour. Very well, just one more thing, you just stay there, Midoriya-kun. The man stood up and began to close the windows to finally get next to the light switch. Close your eyes. The green-haired boy did as he was told. The doc turned the lights off, leaving the room in darkness. Now open them and look at where my voice is coming. When Izuku opened his eyes, he thought for a moment that the lights were on, everything was still as clear as the day. Then he looked at the doctor. Wow, that's amazing and scary at the same time. Said the grown-up man, he couldn't see anything except for 2 glowing emeralds in the darkness that stared at him. Can you see me, Midoriya-kun? Yes, I think I can see even better than before. The boy answered hesitantly. Read the letters in front of you, please. Midoriya read them easily, confirming what he just said. Thank you, now close your eyes again. The lights were on again. After that, the doctor called the boy's mother who was waiting outside, then went to his computer to finish everything. As expected of Inko, she was completely nervous and waiting for the words of the doctors were making it worse. The man finally finished with his computer and looked at them with a professional smile. There's no need to be worried, Miss Midoriya. Everything is in order. Of course, developing a quirk at this age has no precedence. However, I didn't find any anomalies in his body. Midoriya-kun is completely healthy, and if I say so myself, he has an amazing quirk. When the doctor finished, Inko already had her hand covering her mouth with tears overwhelming her eyes. Izuku. She hugged her son tightly. I'm so happy. The boy chuckled seeing his mom's reaction. He didn't hug her back. He would never forgive himself if he hurt her just because he couldn't control his body, so he was being extra careful around her and anyone else. The doctor coughed into his hand, gaining both green hair's attention. Even though nothing is wrong, I'll recommend that Midoriya-kun take a few days off of school for him to get acclimatized to his new quirk. What the doctor said made complete sense to them. I already called the school today informing that Izuku wouldn't assist, Inko informed the doctor. Great, now just let me write the excuse. After finishing the sick note, he handed it to the small woman. Oh, and don't cook anything too hot, I didn't check it, but he probably has a literal cat tongue now. The doctor tapped his own tongue to make an emphasis. Both greenheads bowed from the waist and headed home. XOX. Meanwhile in Midoriya's school. Izuku Midoriya. The teacher called the next name on the list. Alright, he's not coming today. The man said to himself after remembering what he was told earlier. Hey, Kaken. A student whispered, trying to gain Bakugo's attention and succeed. Do you think we went too far yesterday with him? The fuck I care. That's what he gains for being in my way, that damned nerd. Katsuki almost yelled. His eyes fell on the empty chair of the green-haired boy. A frown appeared on his face. Thinking on Deku only made his blood boiled. XOX. A few hours had passed since Izuku returned from the doctor. He was now in his room trying his best to control his claws. He was currently holding his left hand in front of him, staring at it really intensely. Then suddenly his claws extended but were the one from his right leg. He let out a sigh, seeing how his new attempt ended in failure again, yet, like if that wasn't enough, his own tail smacked the back of his head, making his frustration even greater. Sigh, this is impossible. Does anyone with a new quirk has to go through this? He rambles in his head. Well, what do you expect if you're doing everything wrong from the start? Nico's voice echoed in his head. But I don't even know where to start. Can you give me a hand, a paw? He wasn't surprised at all from hearing her voice. He already knew she could do it, and was happy about it. I learned that if I give you the answer it won't help you at all, so it's a no. Izuku groaned a little with her answer, but then stayed quiet. Naya? It's something in your mind, Izuku? She asked inquisitively. I'm a little afraid. I still remember the incident with the doctor. It could have ended pretty bad. What if next time I hurt someone? It could be my own mother. I could never forgive myself if that happened. The boy stated. And that's why I gave this power to you. I knew you could handle it, and you just show me I was right if you're that concerned about it. Thanks. Izuku smiled at his companion words of thrust. I can give you a hint if you want. This immediately caught the teen's attention. You're thinking like if this quirk was some kind of power. The feline said with an amused smirk. What's that supposed to mean? Quirks are powers, right? The answer to Midoriya's questions was a giggle. Your hint only managed to confuse me more. Izuku, lunch is ready. The voice of his mother took him out of his thoughts. The boy decided to stop worrying for the moment. He would think better with his stomach filled. He got a pleasant surprise finding that his mother made katsudon his favorite. I thought in making your favorite to celebrate that you awaken your quirk, Inko said with a smile on her face. Midoriya wanted to hug her, but the fear of harming her held him back, so he only returned the smile and sat down to start to eat. Inko put the news on the TV before sitting down with her son. It was most likely they were about heroes, something that fascinates Izuku. While Izuku was watching the TV, he picked a piece of pork with his chopsticks, but without any warning, the claws from his hand extended, not only causing an injury in his own hand but he swallowed the piece of pork whole, shocking him. Oh my god! Inko exclaimed, jumping out of her chair. Running to the kitchen for a glass of water. She came back seconds later. Drink it! With no delay, the young man drank the water, finally being able to breathe again. Are you okay, Izuku? His mother asked, completely worried. Asterisk pan asterisk yeah pan thanks, Mom. He responded while catching his breath. How do you feel? Nico's voice echoed in his head. She was worried too. Good, but that was awful. It's really scary when you can't breathe. Izuku stopped mid-sentence while his eyes opened wide in realization. Mom, I'm going to my room. I want to try something. The greenhead jumped out of his seat. The little woman was searching for the medkit to treat her son when she heard him. Izuku, but your hand. She tried to rebut, however her son was already in front of the door of his room. Don't worry, it's not that bad, Midoriya said, disappearing behind it. He sat on his bed and crossed his legs, closed his eyes and began to breathe. Inside of his mind he was sure he saw Nico grin mischievously. Minutes passed until he finally opened his eyes. The boy moved his right bleeding hand in front of him. With a swift sound, his claws expanded just as he intended. They retracted just as easily. His eyes went to his left hand, only to do the same. Izuku got up from his bed and looked at his new feline legs. They both show those terrifying claws from the morning, only to hide a second after. He went back to his right hand, with a smile. This time he only extended the claws on 3 fingers, then on 2 and then on 1. He did the same with his other limbs. After that he just looked over his shoulder, and his tail made a heart shape. His ears moved to pick different sound. Izuku could control his quirk perfectly. Ho ho, how did you make it, Izuku? That was a rhetoric question from his partner. She already knew his answer. You are right, this is not some kind of power. Nevertheless, the boy began with his answer. This is my body now. I was thinking that I should activate it in some way, but there was never something to activate, to begin with. Umo, elaborate for me, please. Nico wanted more. I never think in moving my hands, they just do it. No one is conscious of their legs when they walk, they just move. My new ears, tail, and claws are the same, they're part of my body, using them should be as easy as. He paused, trying not to chuckle. As what? Using them should be as easy as breathing. He finished with a smile. You should clean your hand, to start what comes next. Her voice sounded endearing, proud of him. Yeah. He went out of his room to inform his mother of his progress. Needless to say, she hugged him hard of how happy she was. After getting some bandages on his hand he went back to his room, sat in front of his desk and began to write a plan to train his quirk. XOX. Dinner was already over and Izuku was on the sofa sleeping. His head was resting on his mother's lap. They enjoyed this kind of moment. For Enko it was almost like if she had a real cat on her lap, and the occasional purr coming from her son didn't help with that nor with her heart that was at the point of melting of how cute her son acted. She had to stop often to regain her composure. But the life of a mother is busy, so she had to leave him to do the chores, which wasn't an easy task because she didn't want to leave him. Enko finally managed to get up without waking Izuku up. Okay, first is laundry. Now decided with what she should begin, she went to her son's room to pick his clothes. When she entered the room, Enko noticed something that stopped her completely. The decoration was different. There was only one figurine and one poster of All Might. The mother was sure that this morning when she entered to check on her son, all the merchandise of the #1 hero was there. Then, what happened? This sudden change was something that came with his quirk or was something else. Her attention switched to the notebook on the desk. The notebook was open so she was able to read what was inside. The title read Training Routine to Become a Hero. There wasn't much on it. Apparently it was difficult to come with a good routine for Izuku, yet there was something that caught her attention. When she read it, she smiled, thinking that she at least was going to help her son with that. XOX. It was 6 in the morning of the next day, but Izuku Midoriya was already awake, outside of his apartment complex. He was wearing a green tracksuit and green track pants with no shoes. He was barefoot because anything would get in his way. The boy was stretching his limbs, preparing to test his quirk for the first time. Okay, now that that's done, let's start with something simple. To any bystander they would see a boy talking to himself, but in reality, he was talking to the partner that was linked to him for life. Yeah. I was looking forward to this. She cheerfully exclaimed. How about a jump? The feline suggested. In response, the green hare crouched, taking his position to give the biggest jump until now. Whoa! The boy cried when he realized he was 4 meters in the air. Not expecting that, he lost his balance in midair. He was now falling headfirst, yet when he reached the ground, the first thing that touched it was his legs. His eyes were wide open in astonishment. How did I land it on my legs? It wasn't only that, he didn't feel any pain after falling from such height. Those are your instincts, Izuku, Nico answered with a calm voice. After all, cats always land on their feet. It's called the riding reflex. I won't go into much detail. The only thing you should know is that if you fall from a place really high, there is nothing that will prevent your body from taking damage. The boy nodded. He won't forget the warning. Okay, how about the speed this time? Izuku said to no one in particular. The finish line is 2 kilometers away from here. He adopted his position, ready to run. Nico, on the other hand, was puzzled because she didn't know where the boy was going. It wasn't written on the training routine. 3, 2, 1, go! When he finished the countdown, the greenhead bolted. In just a matter of seconds, he broke his best mark. Midoriya was excited. With such speed he was going to arrive at his destination in no time. XOX. A few inches later. Cough, Izuku was covering his mouth with both hands, trying not to throw up. He wasn't even close to the 2 kilometers mark. He just surpassed the first kilometer and was about to collapse. His endurance was bad as always, if not worst. Cough, I'm going to die, Midoriya said, lying on the sidewalk trying to catch some air. Inside his head, Nico was on the floor. She too was trying to catch some air, but because she was dying of laughter. Not funny, Izuku said, trying to stop her. What happened? He asked. Izuku, you know I love you, but that was really stupid, ha. She wasn't going to stop anytime soon. Some minutes passed. Are you done? The boy's voice sounded tired of hearing her laughter. Why ha, phew, wait, huh? Almost there, wheeze he, okay, I'm done. She sounded like she finally calmed down. To tell you what happened, listen, Cheetahs had a really bad endurance. They cannot run for too long, but you are lucky. Because of the other felines, you can actually improve your stamina. You'll just have to train harder. Understood. Was the only thing that came out of Izuku's mouth. He got up and began to jog in a more normal pace. XOX. Why, are we here, Izuku? The cat's voice sounded surprised. They have finally arrived at Takoba Municipal Beach Park. Izuku had a peaceful smile. I thought, cleaning this place would be a good workout. He answered, his voice sounds like a whisper, soothing her. There's no need for that. Pronouncing those words made her sad. There are better ways to train your body. I want to see it, Izuku said. The ocean? She inquired. Your smile. He clarified. This was the place where you were born. I don't like it, that your only memory of this place is all the garbage and junk here. Besides, if I don't do it, who will? Nico was smiling tenderly. Also, I learned something about being a hero. What is it? Smile more important than defeating villains, heroes are the example to society. The feline was impressed. When did he mature so much? But as the answer hit her, her face saddened. It was her death. The event hit him harder than she realized. It robbed him of his innocence and there wasn't a way to go back. That was the reason why he took the All Might merchandise off his room. He no longer followed blindly a figure of a hero. He was creating his own version of what a hero should be. Though I'm no hero, I'm going to show them how to take care of a beach. Finished the boy with a grin after diving in all the junk. The new strength of Izuku Midoriya was something that amazed him. He was able to lift things that no normal person should, but there was other stuff which he couldn't move no matter what he tried. To say it briefly, he was stronger, but by no means was it enough to be a hero. He stopped around 12, the sun was at its peak, meaning it was lunchtime. The boy jogged back to his home, but not before he vowed to clean the beach before the 10 months to take the entrance exam to UA. XOX. When Izuku arrived at his home, he was surprised that his mother wasn't home. He didn't think much of it, though. She probably was buying the groceries. Yet it put a smile on his face to find his lunch in the microwave. She always thinks on him first. After a great meal, he went to his room, to begin with basic exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, and any other he could do in his home. Around 7 p.m. his mother finally arrived, and like any good son, he went to welcome her. She was really surprised to see the state of her son. He was soaked wet in sweat. Ugh. Izuku, you should take a bath right now, you stink really bad, said Inko while pinching her nose with cringe on her face. Oh. Why yeah, sorry, Mom. The boy went to the bathroom to do just as his mother said. He probably stunk that bad for spending hours cleaning the beach. He was really tired as well, so a bath was just what he needed. It was good that the jaguar part in his quirk let him enjoy the water. XOX. After a relaxing bath, Izuku was now eating dinner with his mom. Izuku. The voice of his mother made him stop, leaving him with an open mouth and food midway to it. Yesterday I saw your notebook with a training routine, and I thought I could help you with something written there. That's why I went out today. This new information astonished the teen. You didn't have to. He stopped, thinking it wouldn't be fair. His mother took her time to help him out with something. The best he could do was accepting it with a smile. Thanks, Mom. What was it? I signed you up at a gym. Izuku was flabbergasted. You're starting tomorrow, she said with a pleased smile. The boy put his chopsticks down and got up from his seat. Izuku? This reaction startled the little woman. He approached her without any words and hugged tightly. You didn't have to, but thank you so much, Mom. She returned the hug with a bright smile. Inko knew something had happened. Her son wasn't the same anymore. Something had changed her son deep in his core, and that made her sad for some reason. She could only hope that whatever hurt her precious Izuku would heal over time. XOX. It was the next day in the morning. A scrawny-looking man with blonde hair was walking in the direction of Takoba Municipal Beach Park. The name of this man was Toshinori Yagi, but he was commonly known as All Might, the #1 hero and the symbol of peace. He was on his way to the beach with the intention to clean it. It would probably take him 3 days to leave it like new. After all, no one has bothered to do it, so he would take the task on his shoulders. However, what he never would have expected was that someone else was already there doing what he intended to. When he arrived, he saw someone climbing the stairs with a really big and heavy refrigerator. And by the looks of it, it was a difficult task for the person in question. Izuku Midoriya finally let the big piece of junk on the floor, releasing a tired sigh. That kid is. Toshinori thought when he saw the green-haired boy. Izuku raised his head to look at a specific place. Something wrong, Izuku? The voice of his partner echoed in his head. I thought I saw someone standing there. He pointed to the empty sideway. There were only bushes and some trees. After some seconds staring at it, he shrugged off and went back to the beach. Behind the trees was Toshinori sweating like a madman, hoping the kid hasn't seen him. He recognized that kid, even with all those physical changes. After that day, he gave it a thought to what the kid said, and the blonde regretted what his answer was. He could only imagine how much his words hurt the boy. Yagi was also curious about the quirk the boy was showing. He remembered correctly that the boy was quirkless, but he couldn't allow himself to go there and ask him directly. The shame he felt was too great for that. Aha! I guess I do not need it here, the man said to no one awkwardly while rubbing the back of his head. With that said, he walked away with a sad smile on his face. Some minutes passed when Izuku looked back at the sidewalk. The wind was blowing in that direction, moving the leaves of the trees. Words came out of his mouth like whispers to the wind. I don't hate you. He didn't know why he said that or why those specific words came out of him. It was as if he said them hoping that someone who needs them heard them. It was a melancholic feeling floating in the air. XOX. Meanwhile in Izuku's school. Oops, I almost called Midoriya again. The teacher chuckled at his own antics. This was the third day that Midoriya hadn't attended school. Sensei, why hasn't Midoriya come to school lately? A female student asked. It wasn't out of concern, everyone just wanted to laugh at him more, and making fun of him for aiming at UA high. During the 3 days, Katsuki Bakugo's irritation grew even more and snapped at whoever talked to him. Oh, you guys don't know? The teacher questioned them, leaving his students more curious about it. Should they know about the reason? Well, apparently Midoriya-kun awakened his quirk. So, he took some days off. The entire classroom went silent, no one dared to say a word. Could you repeat that, sensei? I don't think I heard you correctly. A male student asked nervously. What? That Midoriya awakened his quirk? His mother called the school yesterday to inform us about it. Said the man puzzled. He? The shout of all the students was heard in the whole school. The gossip in the classroom was immediate. What? Midoriya with a quirk? There has to be a mistake. A girl said to her friends while having a smirk on her face. It has to be something really weak, so we didn't notice until now, ha. A boy commented, already making fun of the green head. Boom, an explosion quieted the room and all the attention went to the ash-blonde boy. Ha? Deku with a quirk? Don't fuck with me. Quirks are supposed to be presented until the age of 4. If Deku has a quirk, he has to be faking it. The loud voice of Bakugo boomed the class. I don't think you can fake a mutant type, Bakugo-kun, the teacher said lazily while picking his right ear because of all the loud noise. Everything went quiet again. And if the medical exam is accurate, he has a really strong quirk, maybe even stronger than yours, Bakugo. This time the teacher had the biggest smirk of his life in his face. He knew how everyone treated the boy, but he never was able to help him. He also knew how obnoxious Katsuki's ego was, so this was the most pleasant moment in all the year he's been teaching. The astonishment and disbelief on the blonde's face was priceless. Well, regardless of the questions you have about it, you can ask him tomorrow when Midoriya comes back. The teacher finished with an innocent smile. XOX. It was 2 p.m. Midoriya was in the city with a worried look, looking at a paper in his hand. He was in front of the gym, her mother singing him up. The building was in an alley where not even a single person dared to walk. The structure of the gym looked like if it could collapse at any moment. Oh, this place looks nice. Your mom did a good discovery. The cat's voice inside his head sounded excited. If she said that, then it meant one thing, she saw something he didn't. Well, he couldn't stay outside more time, so he decided to walk in. Hello? Midoriya greeted nervously, but no one answered. He continued walking, inspecting every machine on his way to the changing room. There were some machines he didn't even know. Overall, everything inside looked better than any other gym he has seen. All was in perfect conditions. The place was empty so he could use whatever he wanted. He now knew what Nico meant early. After changing into more comfortable clothes, he went to a machine that caught his attention early. He spent some time inspecting it to figure out how to use it. I don't recommend that one for a beginner, kid. Kaya Izuku screamed after hearing a man voice at his back. It scared him so bad that he ended jumping, nailing his claws at the ceiling like a cat. His quirk really has changed him. Oh, nice reflexes you have there. The man said, impressed. The boy finally saw the man. It was a very tall, muscular man of a wide build with slightly tanned skin. He had a square jaw which juts out a notable amount, small eyes, and short white spiked hair. The man was wearing a white t-shirt and dark blue track pants with black sports shoes. Izuku got down easily thanks to his riding reflex. Sorry about that, you caught me by surprise, said the boy. Yeah, my bad, I just wanted to give you a few tips. You're new, right? The man was friendly, which Midoriya was grateful for. Why yes, I'm starting today, and I don't know where to begin. The greenhead answered with a smile. Oh? Then how about I help you with that? I know how to use every machine here, the muscular man proposed with a smirk. And no, I don't want to be a burden. But the boy declined, moving his hand nervously. Hey, don't worry about it. I only come here to keep my build. Besides, the manager and I are the only ones who ever come here, so seeing a new face is nice every once in a while. The whitehead replied with a smile. I'm most of the time here when I'm not working, so helping you out would keep my mind occupied. Izuku couldn't say no to him when he put it like that. Okay, thank you very much, sir. He inquired the man's name. I don't like my name that much, so just call me sir. The man said, a little bit ashamed and waiting to hear the boy's name. Izuku Midoriya, sir. He replied with a smile. They both passed the afternoon at the gym. The man explained to Izuku how every machine worked, what muscles were used in every exercise, and how to make the best of all of them. They practically already have a routine to follow. When the clock hit 6, it was time to end. They both meet outside of the gym. Sir? Midoriya called the man. Yes, Midoriya? They were like friends already. There's been something in my mind for quite a while. The man just waited for the young man to continue. Have I seen you before? Izuku asked, tilting his head. Ha, so I was right, you didn't recognize me at all. The man laughed, finding it funny for some reason. Well, you're a good kid, so I don't think there's any harm in telling you. The man said with a smirk, then pointed at himself with his thumb. I'm the pro hero Death Arms. Asterisk gasp asterisk the pro hero did Death Arms. Izuku freaked out. Death Arms, the hero who? The boy began to mumble everything he knew about the pro, which made the man in question more and more unsettled. Hey, Midoriya. Oi, Midoriya. The man finally shouted to bring the boy back to earth. I'm right here. The greenhead snapped out of it and realized his mistake. So sorry, I'm a big fan of yours, and well, I'm always wanted to be a hero, so I guess I got too excited about it. He said apologetically. Don't worry about it. Death Arms said with a smile. He guessed that anyone would have that reaction if someone who a few moments ago was your training buddy ended up being someone you admired. So, you want to be a hero? Izuku nodded shyly. That's awesome, you would be a great hero. Those words made the boy really happy. Then which high school are you going to apply? TTUA. Midoriya said nervously. He was afraid the pro was going to laugh at him for aiming so high. Oh. Then you'll have to train harder, though. I'll help you with that. The pro beamed at him. Ihei Izuku began to laugh. He didn't know why. The only thing he was certain was that he felt a great relief. Thanks, Death Arms. Unknown to Izuku, Death Arms noticed some tears falling from the boy's eyes. Ah, hey, how about we go to eat some ice cream? It's my treat. The hero proposed while patting the boy's back. With a nod from Midoriya, they went into the city, talking and laughing. From that day, they began a friendship. XOX. At last, the day to go back to school came. Buwoot. Ah. I'm late. Izuku's mind was in overdrive. It wasn't that he woke up late. In fact, he woke up early than ever to go and clean the beach before school, but his timing was wrong and ended up spending more time on the beach than he intended to. And now he was running to school as faster as his new quirk allowed him to. Now he was in front of the door of his classroom. He had barely made it in time, but because of his endurance, he was crawling and was at the point of throwing up. Now I'm seriously going to die. He yelled in his head. And of course, Nico was laughing her ass off. After finally catching his breath, he opened the door and walked in, forgetting about his new appearance. But just a few steps in, he stopped, feeling something off. Everything was too quiet. His head moved robotically at the direction of his classmates. Single. One of the students was looking at him, all the eyes were wide open in astonishment. Being the center of attention was something new for him, so his mind went blank, leaving him with a single word that came out of his mouth, breaking the silence. Naya? Inside of his mind, he punched himself so hard after hearing what he said that he probably killed himself. Iyaha? Such loud noise hurt his ears. He was so afraid, he almost merged with the blackboard at his back. The teacher wasn't there yet, so everyone did whatever they want. You're lying, he's so cute. A girl almost squeaked, saying that to her friends. All the girls were probably thinking the same. Wait, what? He looks so awesome. A guy commented. I know. What the fuck? He looks more badass than me. Not fair. Another boy replied, cursing his quirk. Boom, Deku. After yelling the nickname, Bakugo went literally flying from his seat to the greenhead's position with explosions to move faster. The blonde readied his right backward to blow Midoriya's face when he reached him. Izuku, seeing that, frozen in place. Izuku, move. Nico's voice yelled, bringing him to reality. She wasn't going to allow Bakugo to hurt Izuku ever again. Boom, smoke came from the blackboard. Everyone in the classroom had their mouths hanging in surprise, even Bakugo. In less than a second, Izuku not only moved his head out of the way, he grabbed Katsuki's wrist, moving his hand away to not get even remotely close to the explosion. You bastard! Katsuki recovered quickly and reared his lift fist, swinging it at Izuku's face. But with ease, the catboy caught it with his other hand, surprising everyone again. Bakugo tried to free himself to no avail. The grip on his hands was adamant. With rage boiling in his system, Katsuki looked at Izuku with murderous intent. Midoriya's face was calm, impassive. Yet his eyes, those emerald orbs, denoted disappointment. Who do you think you are, you little fuck? The blonde yelled in his head. You think because you have a quirk now that you're better than me? He began to try to free himself more desperately. Izuku moved his childhood friend's arms as if they weren't putting any resistance, lowering them. Bakugo had enough. He was about to blow up the entire classroom if necessary. Kaken! Kaken! Izuku's voice stopped him. It sounded calm, being loud enough for the whole classroom to hear it. We're not allowed to use our quirks at school. Who cares? The explosive boy shouted. It's clearly that you don't, even though you're the one who should be more careful than anyone else. His words confused everyone in the class. Kiragain-kun. A boy in the middle of the room flinched at the mention of his family name. Now all the attention was on him, and extra. I'll accompany you to the infirmary. The boy's eyes widened in astonishment. Thanks, Midoriya. The boy stood up from his seat. That was when all the other students saw a nasty burn on his left forearm. The sleeve of his uniform had been long gone. Everyone began to gossip about it. The boy was trying to hide it since he was hit from one of the explosions that Katsuki used to fly to Midoriya, and the first one to notice was the one who was further away. That was when Bakugo understood. The disappointment in Midoriya's eyes wasn't because he had a better quirk, but because he hurt someone. In a swift move, Izuku was now at the door with Kuragain. Leaving Katsuki shocked, the blonde never saw when Midoriya released his hand and walked to the door. Don't worry, I'm sure the nurse has something for that, said the green hair with a reassuring smile while putting his hand on the other boy's shoulder. The boy smiled back nervously, not because of his injury but for the new Midoriya at his side. After the morning incident, the rest of the day continues like normal. Everyone glanced once in a while at the feline boy just to see his normal behavior. Katsuki was of course sent to detention for his actions. When school was over, Izuku went immediately to the gym to train. And during the night he went again to Takoba Beach to compensate for the time in school. That became his new routine. Bakugo, surprisingly, never picked up Izuku again, leaving him alone. XOX. A month had passed since Izuku got his new quirk. He was currently at the gym, training some more. Say, Midoriya. Death Arms called to a boy who just finished with a machine. Some days the pro hero wasn't in the gym to help him, but it was understandable due to his job. Today was a lucky day where the big man was there to help him train. What kind of hero do you want to be? The hero asked while handing some water to the boy. Eh? What do you mean, sir? Izuku said, confused. Well, a hero who saves people with a smile, of course. He responded, figuring that was the answer. I was talking about like those heroes who only do rescue missions or those who only fight villains. Death Arms clarified. But I guess your answer is to be expected. In these days everyone admires All Might. Those words hit a nerve within Izuku. No, I don't. I want to. He didn't know what to said. He wasn't basing his answer in All Might. It was different, however, he couldn't express that in words. What kind of hero do we want to become? He didn't know, and that answer scared him the most. Don't worry, Midoriya. There's nothing to be embarrassed about liking the number one hero. Death Arm mistook his stuttering with embarrassment. XOX. It was evening and Midoriya was on the sofa of his home. He took a rest from cleaning the beach today. He didn't have the mind for it anyways. The question Death Arms asked him early was still in his mind. What kind of hero do he want to be? Why he couldn't come with a better answer than the one he gave to the pro hero. The boy decided to clear his mind, and what was better than watching a show about heroes on the TV? The show was about a certain hero who never appeared on social media. Hero name, Eraserhead. They talked about his feats as a hero, about his quirk and his abilities. That was when Izuku's eyes grew wide in realization. The boy went to his memory to remember everything he knew about one person. Katsuki Bakugo. After he remembered what he wanted, he reached for his phone. Midoriya began to text Death Arms. They exchanged numbers some time ago, so he was able to ask whatever doubt he had about his training. Izuku, Death Arms, I have a question. Death Arms, Midoriya. I'm on my break, so, sure, ask anything. Izuku, since when you started training your body? Death Arms, well, I guess since I was a little kid, around when I got my quirk. Is that all you wanted to ask? Izuku, yeah. Thanks. By the time when Izuku finished messaging, he was covering his eyes with his forearm, the same hand that held his phone. He was gritting his teeth, his other hand was clenched into a fist out of frustration. That night Midoriya went back into his inner mind. It wasn't his second time. He came here often to pass some time with Nico. Today, though, he was sitting in one of the clouds, looking at the city below. Is there something wrong, Izuku? Nico asked worried. She didn't know what was happening with the boy. I think I don't deserve this quirk. Her eyes grew in horror. No. That came out wrong. I think I don't deserve any quirk. Every alarm in the feline's mind went off. What the fuck happened to him to say that? XOX. The sun rises from the horizon and its light began to touch a certain catboy's face. His eyes opened slowly, his look was calm, peaceful. Today was Saturday, so he didn't have school today. Thanks, Nico, for hearing me out. Izuku said in his mind. Yeah, well. You scared the shit out of me with what you said. Sorry, it was a hasty decision. He apologized. Don't mention it. But, are you sure about this? She sounded worried. Yeah, you're my hero. The boy replied with a smile. Oi, don't say that lightly. She scolded him. Izuku tilted his head and thought in those words she just said. PFF. Ha 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 ha. He began to laugh out loud like a madman, which startled the cat inside of him. Well, what's so funny? She asked, nervous. You really are my hero. He didn't say that just for the sake of saying it. He was relieved because she just gave him the answer to Death Arm's question. XOX. It was already afternoon and Izuku was at the gym as always, but something was different. Hey, Midoriya, you can stop now. Say the pro hero worried for the kid in front of him. It was just the first machine, but the kid had surpassed his own limit long ago. Now, his form was atrocious, and his arms trembled uncontrollably. It wasn't until he no longer could do the exercise by any means that the kid stopped. He got up and went for the next. It was like seeing a zombie. Death Arms didn't know what had happened. Midoriya had never pushed himself so much since he met him a month ago. It hurt the man a little seeing the boy pushing himself until the very limit, until the point of breaking. OE, Midoriya. I know I said that you had to train hard for UA, but this is absurd. Why, are you doing this? The man asked, genuinely worried. Catch up. The pro couldn't hear but just a few words. What did you say? He asked again, getting closer to hear him better. I have 11 years of doing nothing to catch up. His voice sounded painful, and the look of his face was even more. Izuku was in pure pain. This astonished the pro hero. Izuku Midoriya had made up his mind. For 11 years he didn't do anything to make his dream of becoming a hero a reality. He just waited, he was waiting for a miracle. It was like his dream was more of a wish, he couldn't believe how stupid he was. Having a quirk or being quirkless, all of that it didn't matter, he never worked hard for his dream. How could someone like that be gifted with an amazing quirk like the feline? It was unacceptable. And even when Nico literally slapped him to put some sense in his mind, saying he still had time, he could not allow it. He only would grant it if he paid by going through hell. He will break his own body if necessary. XOX. That evening when he arrived home, his entire body was trembling in pain. In his bed he screamed without any voice that came from his mouth. He didn't sleep that night, nor he was going to in the next ones. Like if that wasn't enough, he began to exercise at school with grippers. But he found something that made him rethink his ordeal. If you train every day to the point of collapsing without leaving your muscles to rest, you're going to end up damaging the muscle instead of making it stronger, so he decided that he would take 2 days of the week to rest. It's been 3 months since he got his quirk, and 2 months since he started his inhuman routine. Today was one of those days when he rested from his exercises. And even though he was supposed to relax, he was often found jogging through the city. His resistance has improved a lot. Today was no exception. Izuku relaxed today. Nico's voice sounded tired, and she was tired just by looking at Midoriya. Phew, I guess you're right. He stopped at a park, cleaning the sweat out of his forehead. The green leaves and the blowing wind were enticing, so he walked aimlessly. He finally came across a clearing. It was a small one, probably only 2 people fit there, but apparently no one had noticed it, perfect for him to rest just a little before continuing. Izuku laid down on the grass. The wind was fantastic, it was like a gentle embrace, also the smell of fresh grass and the sound of nature was too much for him. This is bad. It feels too good. With his tired body, there wasn't a possibility for him to not fall asleep. 30 minutes later, the bushes began to rustle. From them, a girl came out. The girl was wearing a plain and modest-looking dress. The skirt went down to her ankles just to meet high brown boots. The most extraordinary feature was her hair. It was green, thorn-covered vines, probably the manifestation of her quirk. She was carrying a paper bag with bread in it. The girl was going to eat it in her favorite and secret place but was surprised to find someone already there. It was a boy with cat features on his body. She was shocked that someone had found her secret place, of course, but seeing how he was sleeping soundly, she didn't dare to wake him up. The girl, whose name was Ibara Shiozaki, after thinking a little on what to do, decided to sit down next to the sleeping boy and began to eat her bread with a smile. Having an unexpected but not unwelcome company was nice. After all, the boy didn't look like a bad person. Ibara was even tempted to pet the stranger because, before her eyes, he looked like a stray kitten, a cute and helpless kitten. She noticed something when she stared at his face for quite some time. He was tired. Not only physically tired but mentally and spiritually tired too. The girl could only deduct the boy had gone through a bad experience that scarred him. It made her sad a little bit. Then she did the only thing she could at that moment. She prayed. She put her hands together and prayed for the boy who she met just 15 minutes ago, hoping for the better. XOX. Izuku's eyes opened slowly as he sat up. The boy began to rub the sleep out of his eyes. That, without a doubt, was the best nap he had ever taken. This would be one of his favorite places to rest from now on. It had great weather, and no one would go there to bother him. It was perfect. Hey, Izuku. Nico's voice took his attention. What's that on your head? That was a strange question. Did he have some leaves stuck in his hair? When he reached to his forehead, he felt something pointy. With care, he took the thing off. It was a thorny vine covered with flowers. It was a crown of flowers. This awakened him completely. Someone else was there with him when he was asleep. His head moved in all directions trying to spot said person to no avail. Whoever this person was, they'd been long gone. His eyes fell upon the crown once more. He was sure the person who made it didn't have bad intentions, making a smile to sprout on his face. Izuku sniffed the crown a little. It smells really good. More than the fragrance of the flowers, it was the scent of the vine that smelled nicer than anything else. Just a few shots and the aroma relaxed the boy immensely. Midoriya continues with his jog. He kept the crown, which hung in his belt. Now it has become his lucky charm. The flowers were going to probably fade. The thorny vine, however, looked like it was going to last longer. At the end of his jog, Izuku arrived at his destination. Muzutafu's library. The teen came here often whenever he had time. Most of the time he was found reading books about psychology or philosophy. He started reading this kind of books since he got his answer to Death Arm's question. Now inside the library, Izuku was contemplating the shelves about these topics. What should I read today? He wondered out loud in a quiet tone. After all, it was the basic rule in a library. It wasn't until something or someone hit his back and heard multiples books fell on the floor that he was brought back to reality. When he looked behind, he found a girl on the floor surrounded by a ton of books. Oh, are you okay? Midoriya asked worriedly as he stretched his hand out to help her. Which she took thankfully. The girl was wearing a plain black tank top and baggy cargo pants and a jacket tied casually around her waist. She had quite a mature build, although she was probably the same age as Midoriya. She had salmon pink hair, which was styled into thick dreadlocks, but something that caught the boy's attention was her eyes. Their irises were yellow with a cross in the center, making them look somewhat like scope lenses. Thanks. I didn't saw you there. The girl said cheerfully. Why yeah, don't worry about it. He was a little bit nervous. This was his second time talking to a girl. Even though he's been boosting his confidence thanks to the exercise in Nico, he still had work to do in that department. Let me help you with this. Izuku crouched to begin to pick the books up. The girl remained there with her eyes fixated on the cat-looking boy's back. Said Midoriya in his mind when he saw the books. Engineering? Thermodynamics? Physics? Goddamn, the voice of Nico sounded impressed. The irony of those two words almost made Midoriya break in laughter right there. Yeah, it was really impressive that someone of his age was able to comprehend such complicated things as these. Although, this made a question to pop up in his head. How did she end up behind him when the section for these books is at the other side of the library? Then he felt something touching his back that sent shivers up his spine. There were two, very soft, mounds on his back, yet like if that wasn't enough, two hands came from underneath his arms and began to touch every single section of his torso. His neck almost cracks when he moved his head to look at his back. There he found the girl, and he could identify the two mounds on his back. It was her breast. If his face wasn't already as red as a tomato, then now sure it was. She's a pervert. She is a pervert. He screamed in his mind. Now, Izuku. Nico's tone was calm, almost enjoying his reaction. Don't be a pussy now and enjoy the trip. Her sarcasm was like a punch to the guts. Oh, what a nice build you have. You must train a lot. The girl sounded like if she didn't think she was doing something wrong. After some seconds, she ceased the touching, giving the boy some space. For a second Midoriya felt that his back was empty, but he knocked out that sentiment out of his mind. He must remain pure. Nay, I have a favor to ask you. The girl sounded excited. Well, what is it? To Izuku, she didn't look like a bad person, or that she had ill intentions. Would you be the father of my babies? HAAA. Izuku screamed, although his hands moved unconsciously to cover his mouth. He was still in a library. His face, of course, went to a new scale of red. A few inches of explanation later. Izuku was hyperventilating. The shock hasn't left him yet, even after understanding what she meant by babies. So, would you be my test subject? Her smile was blinding. The greenhead sighed exasperatedly. Why him? They only met 10 minutes ago. Well, he knew she had been looking for someone who can take a punch, but still, this was too out of the blue. Nico, of course, was almost dying of laughter inside his head. He raised his head, ready to decline. However, her bright smile and eyes full of expectation stopped him right in his track. Then suddenly, the kind of hero he wanted to become to his mind, and with that, his answer was set in stone, and probably his fate. He smiled tenderly at her and said, "Very well, I will be your test subject." Her face showed such happiness that Izuku feared she would faint there. Yeah, MFMB MFNMN. She shot her hands upwards and shouted. Midoriya was quick to react and covered her mouth, but like if she didn't notice, she continued to shout into them, letting out only mumbles. When she finally calmed down, he took his hands off. I'm May Hatsum, but because we're colleagues you can call me May. Izuku Midoriya, but you can call me Izuku then. The boy introduced himself. I'm bad with names, so Aizu will do, she said enthusiastically with a thumbs up. Midoriya let out another tired sigh. He figured he would be doing that a lot around this girl from now on. Well, the bright side was that he would never get bored with her around. She collected all her books and began to walk. That moment was when Izuku understood how she ended on the other side of the library. May had so many books that they covered her face, preventing her from seeing where she was going. Wait. He stopped her immediately and took half of the books. If you walk like that, you're going to end bumping into someone or something. Thanks, Aizu. Hatsum beamed at him. She had made a great discovery today, finding this partner. Izuku sighed again, but this time ended with a smile. In what kind of pandemonium he got himself into? XOX. Outside of the library. May walked with 2 enormous bags filled with books. Izuku was at her side. Oh yeah. Something came to Hatsum's mind. Give me your phone for a sec. Sure, but what are you going to do with it? He handed her his phone. Her fingers moved through it like lightning. There. She finished, tossing the device to him. I added my phone number. I talk to you next week so we can start working in our babies, she said cheerfully. See you later, Aizu. She jogged away, leaving the boy behind. Izuku was like a statue, then suddenly his legs faltered and he fell on his knees. He raised his phone with both hands to the afternoon sun with trembling hands, like that scene from The Lion King. I got the number of a girl. He shouted in his mind. What a great day to be alive. XOX. It was evening and the sun had been long gone. Izuku was on his way home, but there was still a long road ahead. After all, he was still in the city. Muzutafu was a completely different place at night. All that light, those flashy things, it always got his attention. It was in his nature of a feline, so it was to be expected. One of those signs took his emerald eyes away. Ever since he decided what kind of hero he wanted to be, new interests began to inhabit in his mind. One of those few things was music, so a music shop really caught his attention. Well, I have nothing to lose. He shrugged and entered the shop. Inside the shop, he noticed the decoration was rock or punk kind of type. He went to the shelves at the window. There were headphones for the customers so they could listen to the music and see if something caught their attention. The boy put some on. In an instant, his world was blown away. He closed his eyes, and his body began to move involuntarily at the rhythm of the music. Parallel to him, a girl with earphone jacks hanging from each of her earlobes at the end of two thin cords was finishing the purchase of an album in the same shop. She was now going for the door until something caught her attention. With the shelves at the window was a boy of her age listening to music. He danced in the places without caring about others. However, the thing that caught her attention was the headphones. It was because he had cat features that he was wearing the headphones in a way that was. How weird. The words escaped her mouth while she gave a smile to the uncommon scene. The emerald eyes of the boy shot open and stared directly at her, startling her mind. Shoot! Did he hear me? The girl named Kyokajiro cursed in her mind. She practically ran out of the shop with her face like a tomato. Midoriya saw the girl leave in a hurry, leaving him with one thought. Strange girl. Izuku left the shop with an album in his hands. It was good music. He headed home with a smile. Today was an eventful day. XOX. 4 months had passed since Izuku got the feline quirk. He and Mei now had an interesting relationship. They became good friends, of course, yet the young boy feels he's more like a protective brother when it comes to some of her antics. She had put him through hell with the testing of her gadgets. Hatsum always put everything of herself in there. Babies. Izuku began to admire these aspects of her as he spent more and more time with the cyberpunk girl. The dedication and effort she put into her babies, her mentality of not even questioning herself about if she can or can't do it and just do it, the happiness she showed whenever she succeeded in one of her experiments just to immediately continue with the next, or her determination, working on a failure until it becomes the opposite. Yeah, he learned a lot from this crazy girl. But of course, there is always the other side of the coin. Mei, more often than not, forgets about eating or even sleeping when it comes to working on one of her babies. Her workshop can and will become a mess in a matter of hours, and when she is by herself, the girl tends to disregard her own safety testing her gadgets. Nico, Izuku doesn't do it either when he is the one testing them, and don't listen to me so yeah. You're the one to talk, *psi*, and when all this stuff happened is when Izuku-chan comes out of the cat boy. He even had learned the basics of Hatsum's work so he can help her with something to fasten the process to give her more time. Alternatively, his training from hell continue as always due to him making it harder very time. Now he used bracelets with weight on his wrists and ankles to do very of his daily activities, and whenever he gets used to them, he adds even more weight. These bracelets are one of the babies of him and Mei. Just with a switch, they can be weightless. At this moment, Midoriya is at the gym, almost done with his exercises. His ears moved in the direction of a phone ringing. The one who picked it up was Death Arms. Yes. I will be there immediately. The pro sounded serious. The man hung off the phone and spotted Midoriya looking at him. An emergency, I gotta go. He said swiftly while walking hastily to the changing room. He always carried his hero costume with him. I'm about to finish, I'll be there in no time to watch you, said Izuku, also serious. The pro hero just nodded without looking back. He knew what the boy meant by that. The kid wasn't going to be there to help him or anything. It was too dangerous for him. Midoriya was going to be there to watch him doing hero job as reference for his future. XOX. Death Arms had left already, and now Izuku did too. He began to jog to the place of the incident. His face didn't betray any emotion. Ever since Nico's death, he stopped smiling when an incident happened. Before that event that marked his life, he was always happy and eager to see heroes do heroic deeds. Now he only showed happiness and relief just when he knew everyone was safe and sound, including the heroes. And for just to be sure, he turned the bracelets off. XOX. It was a building lit on fire. It was a 5 stories tall building and the area around it was cordoned off, with a multitude around it. One of the advantages of his quirk allowed him to move through narrow places with ease, so getting to the front of the multitude was no issue. When he got there, he put his backpack on the floor and took out his notebook and a pencil, ready to write down everything about the hero's work. There were 4 pro heroes on the case. One of them was, of course, Death Arms, who was holding a part of the flaming place, preventing the structure of the building to collapse. In the center of the scandal was the pro hero, Backdraft, doing his best to extinguish the fire. At his back was the snake hero, Iwabumi. She was coordinating Backdraft and the other hero to rescue the people who were still inside that inferno. The last pro hero was Kamui Woods. He was using his quirk to rescue the victims who couldn't evacuate, thanks to Iwabumi detecting where exactly the victims were. Backdraft extinguished a little of the fire there, clearing the path for Kamui Woods while Death Arms bought them more time. It was a truly heroic harmony. As Kamui Woods rescued another person, the voices of the snake hero came out. That's the last of them. Giving green light to Backdraft to use all of his capabilities to finish the job. It was a huge success, or so that was what everyone thought. Part of the building exploded, propelling huge debris of concrete to fell over the unfortunate person on its way. That person was Iwabumi. Damn it! The other 3 heroes yelled, having their hand completely full. They couldn't respond to the accident. Everyone in the multitude gasped in horror, everyone except for a green cat boy, whose feet claws extended in less than a second, ripping his shoes and socks apart as he let his notebook fall. Abawami knew she wouldn't be fast enough to get out of the way, so she stood there frozen, looking how her death came near. However, at the corner of her eyes she saw a green blur, only so that a second later her world turned into blurry too. She closed her eyes, not knowing what happened. The debris met the ground, creating a huge thunderous sound, lifting an enormous cloud of dirt and smoke. When all that chaos ceased, Iwabumi, who still had her eyes shut, heard a whine coming next to her left ear. Ugh, are you okay, Iwabumi-san? The voice of a boy made her eyes go wide open. She found herself resting over a cat-looking boy's torso. The teen in question had a smile on his face, a very painful and forced smile. Midoriya had moved so fast that when he tackled the hero and fell on the ground, he skidded quite a distance, making a really nasty bruise on his right shoulder and half of his back. It hurt like hell, but he endured it. A hero must always stay calm so as not to alarm the people who are saving. Abawami stood up quickly with a worried tone. Where does this kid come from? And how did he get there? Were two dominant questions in her head. Iwabumi, please answered. Are you okay? The voice of Kamui Woods rumbled through the dust, taking her out of her thoughts. Yeah. I'm completely fine. She answered immediately, looking at the direction of her fellow hero. Ah, thank God. Don't move. We're on our way. This time was the voice of Death Arms. She smiled at them for being so worried about her safety until she remembered the boy. With a quick turn of her body, she came to see that the feline teen was gone, leaving her disoriented. Meanwhile, on top of a building in front of the incident was a man crouched with a smirk. He had light brown skin and a somewhat muscular physique. He had teal hair tied into a ponytail and an elongated face. He wore a black sleeveless unitard with a purple belt. He had a small desk fan attached to the back and teal sneakers with similar fans attached to them, but the most prominent features were his big hands and orange fingers. He. Heroes are so retarded. The man spoke with mockery. This was too fucking easy. Too bad that bitch didn't die. A very feminine and seductive voice came from behind the man. From the shadows appeared a tall woman with a very voluptuous figure. She had long, wavy, white hair, which was mostly tied into a ponytail, leaving 2 locks on the sides of her face, and side bangs that covered her right eye. She wore light purple panties, a black low-cut sports bra, along with arm pads, a thin face mask, a large metal respirator, black ankle boots, and a utility belt with garters. She also wore purple gloves that were exposed at the back of her hand. The woman had a very seductive and derogatory smirk on her face. And all because of that cat boy. She said as she moved her left hand under her chest, accentuating them even more, while raised her other hand to her lips to begin tapping them. When she remembered that boy, her lips curved upwards into a sadistic smile. I could have fun with that kid and try to corrupt him. She licked her fingers. The thoughts she was having were alluring. Hey, forget about a brat. Why don't you try corrupting me? Said the man next to her with a perverted smile. Ugh. Ugh. The girl exclaimed with disgust on her face. Because of the difference between you and that kid or any other man is that you're ugly as fuck. Now, continue blowing wind, boy, because that's all the blow you'll ever gonna get. She let out all of that with a straight face while playing with her bangs. The comment of her partner was such a turnoff. The man gritted his teeth in anger. You bitch, you'll see when, he began to mutter but was interrupted. Hey, quit fantasizing or being creepy you two, Ash, boy, we gotta go. A man behind them said. We have so much money to spend. The only thing that could be distinguished was the silhouette of a tall man with a muscular build. His right hand was 2 times bigger than his left. He was carrying multiple bags of money. Yeah. The other man referred to as boy said while picking up more bags of money. Whatever you say, boss. The girl known as Ash responded as she lifted even more money. The 3 individuals got lost in the night. XOX. Izuku was in a back alley, trying to regain his breath. He ran from the incident as soon as Uwabami took her eyes from him. After all, he didn't want to be caught in the middle of that. Now, what am I going to do with this bruise? It still hurt like hell, and there was no way he would arrive home like that. What was all of that? A voice almost made the boy jump in place. He turned his head to the person who talked. Uwabami? He exclaimed in disbelief. How did she find him? You seriously can't think you can skate these beauties? She responded like knowing what he was thinking, pointing at her snakes. He slammed his head at the wall. Of course. How could he forget her quirk? Now, care to explain why you jumped into such a danger? She didn't look pleased either. Well, he has nowhere to run, might as well be honest. By the time I was conscious, I was already tackling you, Uwabami-san. He didn't stutter anymore thanks to his time with May. But why? Why? That wasn't the answer she was looking for. Do I need a reason to save someone in danger? Midoriya was calm. He didn't have anything to fear because what he did was the right thing. The snake hero was taken aback by that answer for a second. But it was dangerous. You could have died. She was a little angry about his disregard of his own safety. The words of All Might came to his mind. I want to be a hero, and I already know that heroes had to put their lives on the line in order to do their job. But you're still no hero. The life that should have been in danger was mine. I was the hero there. It was becoming harder and harder for her to keep her cool with this kid. If the new sad tone of the boy stopped her hot-blooded emotions. The heroes risk their lives for the others. Who is the one who would keep heroes safe? Her eyes became wide in astonishment and fear. Is because they are heroes that they don't need to be saved? She lowered her head and gritted her teeth. Then leave that to the other heroes. It was a little frustrating and sad that this kid saw the world so different from other kids of his age. She wasn't this conscious when she had his age, for God's sake. What happened to this kid? I do. But if they can't and I'm there. Don't say it. The hero pleaded in her mind, already knowing it was futile. I would do it again. A single tear came from her right eyes, not that the kid could see it. That's what heroes do, right? Izuku gave her a smile. Uwabami wanted to cry and let her emotions out, but she couldn't, not in front of someone else, not in front of this kid. Damn, not even the commercials she did were this demanding. Why did she feel like this? Was it because she had chosen to be more of a celebrity than a hero? So, what were you doing there, Uwabami-san? I thought you. Izuku tried to change the subject. He knew the atmosphere was heavy, but this was hard. What should he say? The pro-hero cleaned her eyes and raised her head. Ha? What do you mean? Or rather, why do you care? Izuku panicked. She was being too aggressive. Sorry, I wasn't trying to. He started his stuttering. Maybe he needed more practice with women. Hump, I came here to roll a commercial. Got a problem with that? She crossed her arms and gave him a pout. What am I doing? Why am I lashing out at him? He didn't do anything wrong. What is wrong with me? However, inside of her was pure chaos. What? It's not too heroic for someone like you? She continued. Please, stop. Me. Not at all, Izuku said with a tender smile. Eh? That caught her off guard, making her blush a little. By being a celebrity, you're actually inspiring people to do different things, maybe even cheering somebody's day up. It's really heroic if you ask me. Her blush began to increase. She didn't see it like that at all. Just because you're not out there fighting villains or saving people doesn't mean it's not heroic, right? He tilted his head cutely with an even cuter smile. Everything related to being a hero was Izuku's favorite things, so he spoke without shame, without measuring what he says. If Abawami wasn't completely sure that it was physically impossible for her to eject steam from her ears, she would be doing that right now. Even her snakes were blushing, and the worst part was that she didn't know why. She was internally screaming out of happiness and anger at the same time. This damn kid did something in her that she didn't know what it was. Before she could say or do something embarrassing, her phone rang, snapping her out of her stupor. What is it? She answered the phone. Her calm personality came back. What? Whatever she heard, put her on alert, and so did with Izuku. Understood, I'm on my way. And with that, she hung off. Did something happen? Izuku asked worried. A bank a few blocks away was robbed. She informed. They need me to track the villains down. Midoriya's mind jumped to something. Could it be that those responsible for the theft used the fire to distract the heroes? Hey. Abawami's voices took him out of his thoughts. She sounded nervous for some reason. What's your name? She asked with a tint of red on her cheeks. Why was he so nervous asking a kid's name? Well, at least it was too dark for him to notice it. Unfortunately for her, Izuku had an excellent night vision. Does she have a fever? He thought. Oh, is Izuku Midoriya? He answered. Midoriya, okay. Don't get yourself in trouble. She began to walk away. Abawami-san. He called for her. Could you please not tell anything about what I did to Death Arms? If he finds out that I put myself in danger, he'll punish me severely. The boy had dread in his eyes. They know each other? She asked, surprised in her mind. This made a smirk to appear on her face. She would have fun teasing Izuku as payback for all he made her felt. Who knows, you were a bad kid today. Midoriya, maybe I should tell him right away. The flinch of terror in the boy's body was priceless. She wanted to tease him more. Unfortunately, she didn't have the time, so she just walked off, leaving the poor creature shivering there. See you around, Izuku Midoriya. She said goodbye in her head while she had a big smirk. When Izuku lost sight of Abawami, he fell on his knees. Well, women are scary. He thought. After some minutes, Midoriya calmed down and stood up, and with tender eyes, he looked at his hands and smiled. It wasn't for nothing. He said in his mind as he clenched his hands into fists. The training is paying off. I saved someone today. He began to laugh. All this hell and sacrifice wasn't for naught. He really could become a hero. He began to walk to his home, happier than ever. This was a great day. What are you going to do with the bruise in your back? Nico's comment destroyed everything in an instant. Knock knock, give me a moment please. The voice of a man replied from the other side of the door. With that, Izuku waited patiently. It has been a day since the boy saved Abawami from that incident. And as expected, his mom freaked out when she saw the bruise on his back. The best excuse he came up with was, "I fell while running." It was simple, but technically not a lie. He promised to be more careful next time. After all, he didn't like to see his mother's worried look, so it was the best that he didn't tell her about what really happened. The sound of the door finally opened, brought him back to reality. At the other side of the door was a man in his 40s. The man had short black hair. He was wearing a pretty common outfit of a plain blue t-shirt and yellow cargo pants, but the feature that stood out the most was the eyes behind his glasses. The man sported the same yellow eyes of his daughter. "Good afternoon, Hatsum-san." Izuku greeted the man with a polite smile. "Ah, good afternoon, Midoriya-kun." The man smiled back. "Please, come in." He stepped aside, leading the boy inside the house, taking off his shoes and walking barefoot. He keeps his feline paws clean, so there is no problem with that. The atmosphere inside of the house was always pleasant for Izuku. "Would you like some tea?" the man offered at his guest. "Oh, don't worry about it, but thanks." The boy politely dismissed it. "Though here is something for you." Midoriya reached inside the plastic bag he had been carrying. The man accepted the present. He wasn't surprised at all when said present came to be a chocolate bar. "Thank you very much, Midoriya-kun. But I have to say, aren't you spoiling my baby girl too much?" That caught the greenhead off guard. Seeing his reaction, the man couldn't help but let out a calm sigh while a smile appeared on his face. He seriously hasn't noticed it. The man already knew how kind-hearted the boy in front of him was, but there had to be a limit in how selfless someone could be. "You always bring chocolates whenever you come here, Midoriya-kun. I know these are her favorites, but still, she might gain some weight if you keep this up," the man said with a chuckle. "Oh. I'm sorry, I just always think she might need the energy to continue building more devices. And don't worry about her weight, building stuff is a great workout. May has a great body because of that," Izuku said with a smile, trying to reassure the father. So my daughter has a great body?" The older man made an emphasis on what the boy said, with a mischievous smirk on his face. Poof! Noticing what he said, Izuku's face exploded in a flush. I didn't mean that at all. No, she has a great body, but I wasn't talking in." Midoriya entered in panic mode trying to clarify the misunderstanding, yet he ended up digging deeper his own grave. I'm just messing with you, Midoriya-kun." Mei's father laughed at the poor boy. Why yeah," Izuku said with a blush still on his cheeks. "Well, I won't entertain you anymore. Mei is in her workshop as always. If you need anything, I will be in my room doing taxes, Midoriya-kun." The man held his hand high as he went upstairs, leaving the teenager alone. When the older man finally left Izuku's sight, Midoriya moved his right hand to his face and let out a sigh. "I seriously need to pay more attention to what I'm saying," he said in his mind as a reminder. "Well, you weren't lying about her body though." Nico appeared in his mind. Not helping. He dismissed her words and moved to Mei's workshop. The green-haired boy opened the door gently, already hearing the familiar sound of sparks that were so common in this place. When he finally entered, he immediately spotted the pink head working on something on one of the tables, her trademark goggles already on. Izuku smiled at that as he made his way to her. "Hey, Mei." He greeted and waited for her to acknowledge his presence. 10 seconds later she stopped for a second just to continue on her project afterward. "Hey, Izu. How is your training going?" She had a big grin on her face. Izuku knew she asked that more out of courtesy than actual interest, although it made him happy anyway. Great. He already knew how was Mei when she was in inventor mode. Her attention was limited, so a short and concise answer was the best. "What are you working on?" Now, talking about her inventions was a whole other story. "I'm working on support boots. They will help with mobility and speed, allowing the user to keep energy for any task while they can concentrate on other subjects. They're going to be great babies." May began to talk enthusiastically as ever. Can I help with anything? Izuku asked, putting the plastic bag filled with chocolate bars on the table next to her. Ah, the other boot needs the final touches and calibrations. She pointed at the boot next to her. There are the instructions, so be a good dad and help me finish it. Yeah. Whatever you said, honey. Izuku had got used to her calling him dad and referring to the gadgets as babies that he just played along as if they were a family. Nevertheless, he was happy that she considered him as a right hand, giving him a small task to light her burden, even if just a little. Taking the paper with the instructions, he moves around the workshop to pick the necessary tools for his task, along with his goggles, and put them on. They're the same as the ones that May wore, but instead of red, they were green. After taking everything he needed, Izuku sat down next to May and began to work on their baby. The instructions were quite simple, but Izuku was just a novice when it came to robotics and all. May would take probably 15 minutes to do what he was instructed. To him, it would take double the amount of time if he was lucky, if not, probably an hour. The last thing he wanted was to screw things up just because he wanted to finish quickly, so he always took his time on this. 15 minutes have passed, and only the sound of sparks echoed the workshop. They haven't exchanged words with one another. It's pointless when they're working on something, and Izuku might not notice, but he too entered what he called inventor mode, where the completion of the gadget was everything that mattered. Although in his unconscious state, Izuku's body still reacted on what he needed, and right now a little bit of energy was what his brain needed. Though his hands were occupied at the moment, it was in these cases when having an extra limb came in handy. His black tail moved to the plastic bag that was placed between the two teens and grabbed a chocolate bar. The feline tail normally cannot do this, but the difference between a normal feline and Izuku was that he was still part human. He had trained his tail rigorously to at least do these small tasks. Now with a bar of chocolate on his tail, he moved it to his feet, where he extended one claw and with a swift move, opened the wrapper. Believe it or not, this was part of his training. Doing tasks that required surgical precision helped with more control over his boy. Finally, he took the bar to his mouth. Izuku doesn't have to worry about touching something with his tail due to a perk of being a feline. He takes his hygiene very seriously. He then opened his mouth, showing his impressive set of teeth, and took a bite of the sweet goodness. The workshop was filled with the sweet essence of chocolate that assaults May's nostrils. The smell of her favorite snack startled her for a moment, causing a bigger smile to appear on her face. Aizu, Choco. Her command was barely registered by Izuku's mind, making his tail to move the chocolate bar in front of the pink hare's face as she instinctively opened her mouth to take a bite. It was at that moment that his actions fully hit Izuku. Ah, May, wait, I already took it. In panic, Midoriya tried to stop his partner, but it was too late. She already closed her teeth over the snack, just over where he bit before her. His cheeks turned red as he saw the indirect kiss happening in front of his eyes. But then he just remembered with who he was, making him let out a sigh. What am I worrying about? She doesn't care about this kind of stuff. He reminded himself as he turned back to his work, just in time to not see how a very distinct tone of pink sprouted on May's cheeks. Izuku also didn't notice that May stopped her work for several minutes, frozen in place. Half an hour had passed. Whoa! It's finished! May exclaimed, holding her boot up in the air like if it was a newborn baby. Did you finish, Aizu? He took his goggles off, giving her a smile. Yes, I just did too. Then who is going to test them? She asked enthusiastically. Let me go for my shoes so I can do it. He responded as he left the workshop. A couple of minutes later, Izuku was ready with the support boots on. Okay, Aizu, are you ready? May had a remote on her hands that was going to start the boots. She was barely restraining herself from pressing the button. Yeah, ready. Giving her the green light, May finally pressed the damn button. The turbines in the boot's sole started to spin, making Izuku levitate a few inches from the ground. Seeing her success, May's face couldn't become brighter. Neat, so far so good. Nico's voice echoed his head. Oh my god, you just didn't, and just like a very bad omen, the boots began to make weird noises. Oh. The turbines went all out, and in a matter of seconds Izuku's shoulders crashed against the ceiling, making a crack on it. May, turn it off. The pink head was already pressing the button repeatedly. It's not working, she shouted in panic. Where is the manual switch? This situation wasn't the worst that he had been when testing one of May's invention. But it was a great example of why he preferred to do the testing himself instead of letting May do it. Besides, it was for this that he's here anyway. On the heels. Press them together, she informed him. Izuku extended the claws on his hands and then hit the ceiling, nailing them to the concrete. With that done, he began to move the boots so the heels facing each other. He moved them slowly. If any of the boots moved in a bad angle, he would lose control. After an arduous effort, Midoriya managed to hit the two buttons on the heels. The gadget slowly went to a stop, leaving him hanging from his claws. Hatsum let out a sigh in relief, but then, a big question mark popped up in her head as she looked back at Izuku. He raised his own body to the ceiling level. He just has to retract his claws to get out. Why is he doing that? It was when he had his body flat against the ceiling that he retracted them, leaving himself fall. However, instead of landing on his feet, the T landed on his hands, putting a great effort to keep the boots from touching the ground. It was an amazing physical prowess, but why? From his position, he slowly put the boots down. Amazing, Izu. But why did you? If I land on our babies with all my weight from up there, I might damage something else on the inside, and that would mean more work for you. And we don't want that, right? He turned his head at her with a warm smile. He then faced the other way to begin taking the boots off, carefully. May felt warm on the inside as she let out a smirk. Izuku always did this, thinking first in others, always trying everything to help them, to help her. She had asked him to be the test subject for her babies out of a whim, yet now she couldn't any longer see herself working with someone else. May felt at peace whenever he acted like this. Well, I'll have to check the whole structure to spot where it failed, May said while holding a boot. You can go home, Izu. I'll take care of. What are you talking about? Izuku interrupted her again. Knowing you, you'll stay all night fixing them. Ah, that reminds me. May, when was the last time you slept? His eyes narrowed accusingly, staring at the bag under her red cracked eyes. 12 in the morning. Izuku looked at the clock. It was 7 p.m. That was a lot of time. Monday. A glass broke inside his head when he heard that. Today was Saturday. I. He immediately raised his voice. I know, but there are so many babies waiting for me to create them. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. He grabbed her by the shoulder and started to push her in the direction of the work table. The sooner you fix them, the sooner you'll go to sleep. Izuku wasn't going to stop her. The last time he did that, she didn't sleep at all because she kept thinking about her baby. He also was very unlucky that the gadget had failed. The only one who learned from the failure of the babies was May, not him, so he couldn't give her a hand on this. While she worked on it, he went to do something useful. 15 minutes later. Izuku entered the workshop again with a tray on his hands. May. He called her name to get her attention. I know what I said, but drop that for a little. I made sandwiches with some tea. I gave some to your father, but there's still plenty for us, so come and eat. He had been learning how to cook with his mother recently, nothing too fancy, but at least something good enough to fill the stomach. Aowa Hatsum opened her mouth and stood like that, waiting for him as she continued working on the boots. Cold sweat ran down his forehead. No, May. I'm not going to feed you. Stop. Awaha. No, I'm serious, May. Just drop whatever you're doing for some minutes and eat them. He kept refusing to her demands. Awaha. Seriously, May. I refuse to. Awaha. You can't make me. Aya. Okay, fine. You win. Happy? Izuku let out a groan as he approached her. Now I see what your father meant by saying I'm spoiling you too much. He muttered that. Midoriya took a sandwich and moved it next to her mouth for her to chew. When the first one was gone, he picked up the glass of tea. Drink. You're lucky that I picked a straw for you. He was lying to himself. Deep down in his subconscious he knew this was a possible outcome, so he unconsciously picked a straw for her. May drank it happily, although unbeknown to her, her cheeks were displaying a tone of pink that Izuku easily spot. I hope she doesn't have a fever. Almost 7 days without sleeping can wreak havoc on the body. His emerald eyes simply looked at her with worry. Smile well, it can't be helped when it comes to her. And he couldn't help but admire her resolve. I should give my everything to achieve my dream too. In the next hours she worked on their baby. Izuku spent them cleaning the workshop, organizing tools, classifying other gadgets between failures and successes, and even repairing the ceiling. 4 hours had passed since Mei started to repair the boots when she finally did it. Izuku had been now suspended in the air for 15 minutes doing different stuff. It was now clear that this was a big success. He took them off and put them with the other babies. Mei was trembling in the spot. Why, yeah. We did it. She shot her arms in the air. SHHHHHHHH. It's almost 12. He whispered, snapping his head at her. But what he saw made his heartbeat race to the skies. How could it not, seeing her fall backward, unconscious? Literally in less than a second Izuku was already next to her, catching her before she touched the floor and landing on his knees with alarm in his eyes. Hey, Mei. What happened? Are you okay? A little tear was starting to appear in his eye, but then he heard it. ZZZZZZZZZZZZ. Pant. The greenhead tried to regain his breath. He didn't realize he had stopped breathing since he saw her fall unconscious. Damn it, Mei. One of these days you're going to give me a heart attack. With tears of relief, he clutched her body as he touched his forehead against hers. He had noticed this before, how he became more physically affectional since he got his quirk. After all, felines tend to communicate more through their body language and physical contact. Izuku is wary of this and tries not to do it, but in situations like these, it's hard to control something that was implanted deep in his core. Right now. He didn't care. He was too emotionally invested trying to convince himself that Mei wasn't Nico. That she wouldn't disappear too. During these months of training he appeared to everyone else that he had toughened up, however on the inside, he was still far too weak, far too fragile. Carrying Mei bridal style, Izuku left the workshop and went upstairs, just to find that her father was still awake. Seeing how happy his daughter was on his arms, he couldn't help but smile. Thanks, Midoriya-kun. I'll accompany you to her room. Thanks, she scared the hell out of me. She fell asleep just as we finished with the gadget. Mei never does that. She always had more energy to at least go to her room. The teen informed the older man. And who do you think is responsible for that? Being so dependable. The father thought with a smirk on his face. Ah, by the way, your mother called here early. I told her you'll stay the night here. You can use the guest room in front of Mei's. Smile. Thank you very much, Hatsum-san. Mom tends to get worried about me. Izuku said. Don't worry, it's our job as parents to get worried about our kids. With a peaceful semblance, the man glanced at his daughter. You actually helped me a lot keeping Mei in check, so let me say it again. Thank you very much, Izuku Midoriya, he repeated himself as they stopped next to Mei's room door. Her room wasn't like any girl's room. It was decorated with a lot of her babies and blueprints of babies yet to come. Overall, it was very Mei Hatsum if he had to put it in words. There you go. He put her down gently over her bed. Izuku sat next to her, giving her his back. Don't scare me like that again. he murmured. Then, suddenly, he felt something grabbed his shirt from behind. Eh? Whoa! He was pulled to the bed. When the greenhead realized he was in May's arms, she was hugging him like a teddy bear, teddy cat. His face got crimson. Oh, my was all the reaction from her father. "Yes, sir, see, can you help me?" Izuku pleaded in a low tone. May was still asleep after all. "I'm afraid there might be a problem with that," the father informed the panicking boy. "Why?" Izuku asked nervously, trying to ignore two round and soft masses on his back, but then... because May is constantly building gadgets. Her arms are quite strong, and now one of those strong arms was strangling his neck, yet, like if that wasn't enough. Ugh, cracked the other arm, snapped his head in another direction. "What's happening?" He was in alarm. "You see, even when she's asleep, my daughter is still." The man tried to explain. Good, baby, zzzzzzz. May sleep-talked softly. "Wait, T, that's impossible, right? She can't possibly be." Izuku's concern grew by the second. "Mommy is going to take care of you." As May said the last word, she snapped his head and strangled him even harder. "She is totally building a baby in her dreams." He shouted the undeniable fact in his head as he feared for dear life. "Izu, help me, zzzzzzz." Those words surprised the father. He has already made a spot in her subconscious. It was the first time he heard her said somebody's name in her sleep. Not even him or her mother had that privilege. He would be lying if he said he wasn't a little jealous. And that confirms it. "Sorry, Midoriya-kun, it's impossible for me to get you out of there." The dread on the boy's eyes almost made him laugh. "The only way for you to get out of her grip is through an equivalent exchange, and I'm afraid there's nothing in this house that meets the requirements for that." "What's that supposed to mean?" Izuku Shout whispered, getting a little angry that he was being abandoned in such a predicament. "Also, this is not alchemy, this is May we're talking about." "I will pray for you." May's father saluted him as he slowly closed the door, seeing for the last time how his daughter snapped the boy's neck one more time. Needless to say, Izuku didn't sleep that night. XOX. Izuku was at the gym. The clock on the wall was reaching 7 in the evening, and he had been there since 12 p.m. The boy was lucky that the gym was empty, except for the manager in his office. Seriously, that old dude doesn't even acknowledge his presence, because right now he was a mess. His breathing was erratic and there wasn't an inch of his clothes that weren't drenched by sweat. He was hot, and not the sexy kind of hot. He was literally burning to the point that if someone poured water onto his body it would become steam right away. Why was he like this? Because his mind was replaying the same scene of May falling down unconscious and then being overlapped by Nico's death. It put him in a certain mood. No one else is going to die. I'll work harder. I'll protect everyone. He repeated his mantra again. With a smile. Izuku almost shouted as he raised his head with a ferocious smile on it. Yes, it was a sad scene, a torment to think of his best friend dying, but it was a strong motivation. He would mask his fears with that smile and work to prevent such an outcome. His entire body was burning in pain. Yep, it was the perfect moment to stop for today. Just as he gulped his entire bottle of water, his ears caught the sound of the entrance door opening. His emerald eyes snapped in its direction just to see the only other person who comes to this gym, that bulky man known as Death Arms. Seeing him always put a smile on the teen's face, and well, he hasn't seen him since the burning building incident 2 days ago. Izuku approached the huge man. Hey, Death Arms. How's it going? The pro hero finally noticed the kid. Ah, hey, Midoriya. Doing fine, a lot of work but nothing much. So, you're still here at this hour? Nice. It was when the boy was next to him that his eyes widened. Jesus Christ, kid. Kid. He shouted in his head in surprise, and who could blame him? Midoriya's muscles were trembling and looked like they could explode at any time. You overdid it again, I see. He. I got more motivation than usual. Izuku scratched the back of his head. Hey. But suddenly his attitude changed. You were amazing 2 days ago. You're so strong, holding an entire building. It's incredible. His fanboy personality came to the surface. Ha. It wasn't much, seriously. I just put pressure into one point of the building. The pro hero was embarrassed for the praises. The others did more amazing things than me. No. It was because of you that they had the necessary time to save everyone. Izuku wasn't going to let him take away his own merit. But how did you do that? He was truly curious about it. Ah. Well, it may not sound really heroic. Death Arms said, regaining his composure. I study a little of architecture, nothing that impressive. Izuku froze at that. Amazing. He shouted, all his tiredness was shoved away. Using something as normal as that and applying it to hero job. I can't believe you thought on something like that. Oi. I'm smarter than what I looked. The pro took a little offense in that last comment. Do you think you can teach me that? Izuku ignored his comment and asked nervously. What? Architecture? The hero asked back, just to receive a beaming face and intense nodding. Sure, I don't see why not. Yeah. Izuku shot his arms in the air in a signal of victory as he turned around, giving his back to the pro. It was endearing to the pro hero to see Midoriya act like this. It was rare to see him act like a kid, a teenager. It actually worried the hero to see the boy behaving so mature all the time. Suddenly, something popped up inside Death Arm's head. Hey! The tone that he used turned the temperature of the room a lot of the degrees down, or at least that's how it felt for the boy who stopped mid-celebration. Talking about the incident. The humongous right hand of the pro sank over Midoriya's head and squeezed. Naya-a-och. Izuku screamed in pain, trying fruitlessly to take the hand off his head. Ouch. What was the young boy thinking by jumping into action in the middle of the collapse of a burning building to save a pro hero? Izuku choked in his own saliva after hearing that question. SGT told you? More nervous than ever, he tried to inquire for information. You think she would keep her mouth shut about such a dangerous matter, Mr. Savior of Heroes? Death Arms lifted the boy by his head and moved him to his face to stare at him, death in his eyes. Needless to say, Izuku was sweating bullets while trembling uncontrollably. You're fucked. Inside his head, Nico stated the obvious. You're in for a hard punishment, Midoriya-san. The pro squeezed again, reminding the young one why his hero name was Death Arms. Nayu-yo-o-wuch. His scream echoed even outside of the gym. Meanwhile in another prefecture. Something wrong, Abawame-san? The girl that was putting makeup on the pro heroine asked curiously. The pro in question had snapped her head in a certain direction, looking through a window. The smuggest grin had suddenly appeared on her face. Not at all. I just felt that something really good happened somewhere. Her mood had raised 10 times for some reason. Abawame-san. A man suddenly appeared through a door. The commercial starts in 5 minutes. It was just a reminder. Yes, she just tilted her head cutely. She would give her all in this just like that stupid green-haired cat boy that suddenly appeared in her head would. XOX. It has been a week since Izuku received Death Arm's punishment, but his body was still in pain from it. Right now, he was in his school and it was lunch break. Izuku was eating the lunchbox that his mom prepared for him. It was a balanced meal that helped him to be at peak performance for his exercise. His predilected spot for lunch was outside next to a tree. His animalistic side made him like more nature, and besides, no one came to this place, so it was quiet and peaceful. That's why it surprised him that someone went there to see him. Midoriya? The cat boy turned his head to see the person. It was a guy from his classroom. The boy in question was a plain-looking character. It didn't even have hair to stand out more. No, being bald can make you stand more, maybe. Yes, Nobime-kun? Izuku asked with a smile. The other boy looked nervous, so he hoped his smile would soothe him down a little. Midoriya knew his classmate didn't come to cause problems. No one actually did to him anymore, and of course, it was because he had a quirk now. Well, not everyone had left him alone. There were some who tried to pick a fight with him, and surprisingly enough, Katsuki wasn't one of them. They tried to give him a lesson, saying stuff like, "Don't get cocky just because you got a quirk now." Or "Our quirks are better than yours, punk." Yeah, weird stuff. They stopped a while ago, not because Izuku hooped their asses, but because they couldn't even land a finger on him. They soon realized how much difference there was between them. Izuku was too fast and too flexible to catch, and he wasn't even pretentious about it. The cat boy tried to stop them in the most Izuku Midoriya way possible, by stutter words to calm them down. They eventually gave up. Well, I was wondering, because you're a nerd with quirks and all that. Not the politest way to ask something, but it didn't bother Izuku at all. And everyone says that my quirk is worthless for a hero. That certainly bothered Izuku. Who those people thought they were to say something like that? It clearly pissing off, however, Izuku knew better than to show his anger on his face. It could give his classmate the wrong idea, so he kept calm. So, do you know how can I become one? Izuku let out a sigh, calming the hot feeling in his interior, and gave the other boy a bright smile. Sure, I can think about something. His classmate immediately beamed at those words. Can you show me your quirk again? But you already know it. Nobime was surprised at that request. Yes, but I've never seen it up close. The green head offered another smile. Also, if you could tell me anything about it, it would make this even easier. He said again, pulling out his notebook of hero analysis for the future number 14 along with pencil from his backpack. Well, as you can see. The boy grabbed his eyeballs and pulled them out, being only connected to his eye sockets through a nerve. I can stretch my eyeballs to around a meter away. Izuku only nodded as he took notes. They're more resistant and it doesn't feel weird when I touch them. The nerve that connects them is flexible? Izuku asked without taking his eyes out of his notebook. Yes, very flexible and is as strong as metal. The other answered. But you can only pull them out with your hands, right? You cannot command them on their own, yes? Bullseye! His classmate exclaimed, releasing his eyes and snapping his fingers into finger guns. Any drawbacks? Izuku waited for the other to think. If I stretch them for too long, they start to hurt and it gets difficult to put them back on my face. The bald student informed. Okay, I think that's enough. He continued in his notebook for a few more minutes. So, how does it look? He showed his classmate the page about him, or it even included a picture of him pulling his eyeballs out. Amazing. The boy murmured, being flabbergasted by such accurate information in pictures. Never in the past, he thought much about the green-haired boy, but now seeing it up close, Midoriya was quite amazing. Now, how to apply this to hero job? That question was more for himself than the other person, as it was clear when he went deep in thought. First of all, you will be a great rescue hero. And even in a battle, your worth would be invaluable. Izuku confirmed with a smile. How? Nobime couldn't help but shout, grabbing the cat boy by the shoulders. How did Izuku get to that conclusion? He couldn't see that at all. Was he playing a prank on him? Playing with his hopes as revenge for all those years that he laughed at him? Well, just think about it. You just need a support item for your eyes that can extend them for you in any way you need. The look on the bald boy's face was one of worry. Such support item can be made? That was what was worrying him. Of course. Izuku smiled. He knew a pink-haired girl who would love to try that idea and make it a complete success. And with that support item, you can save many people. In rescue missions, you can stretch out your eyeball to search for them through debris where other heroes couldn't. And in a battle, for example, a hostages situation inside a building. If you can make it to a window, you could see what is the situation and gain information without being detected, and if you add night or thermovision to the support item, the possibilities for you just keep increasing. Also, in a fight, you could use the nerve of your eyes to suppress a villain. Of course, you will need to work hard for this. Do a lot of exercises not only for your quirk but for your body as well, and combat training too. It won't be easy, but it will be very rewarding, I can assure you that. Izuku finally concluded. He got really surprised when he saw a tear coming down for his classmate's eyes. The look on him was of complete disbelief. Thanks. Midoriya, you're amazing. Thank you so much. The boy cleaned the tears and smiled wholeheartedly. It was like if some weight was lifted from his shoulders. That was when Izuku's face grew in horror as he realized something. When he stopped being the bullied kid, the others began to pick new targets with weaker quirks, and Nobime was one of them. Excuse me, Nobime-kun. That new and cold tone of Izuku startled the bald boy. The boy looked at Midoriya. His green hair was covering his eyes. I need to do something. Izuku just walked away, leaving all his belongings there. He was pissed to no end. Midoriya never cared in the past when he was being bullied, but now, knowing that there were others who were suffering the things he knew so well, it was completely unacceptable. He knew who they were, and he might not be violent, but if they wouldn't attend to his words, then he would make them listen to him. It didn't take much. Just a single glance at his eyes and claws was enough to make them piss their pants. They promised to never do it again to anybody. Putting his sharp claws next to the leader's neck was enough to seal the deal as a reminder to not go back on their word when he wasn't looking. For the rest of the year, no one would ever know why every sort of bullying had stopped so suddenly, but the rumor between the bullies was always presented on their minds. If they ever attempted something, a green beast will come after them. That rumor would become an urban legend in that middle school, stopping any sort of bullying even in the years to come. The day at school was coming to an end, and everyone was already leaving for their homes. Izuku was one of them. Hey, Midoriya. He was called from behind. Kurogane-kun. What's up? Izuku smiled when he saw it was the boy that was burned by Katsuki 4 months ago. Some friends and I are going to the karaoke. Want to tag along? People treated him normal since he got his quirk due to his friendly personality. Sorry, I already got plans for today. Izuku dismissed it apologetically. I see. Then maybe some other time. The arcade perhaps, Saturday? The teen got a nod from the cat boy in confirmation. Neat. He was happy because it was almost impossible to do something with Midoriya outside of school. He was always busy. Oh, and how are they? The boy tapped one of his ears to make emphasis on the thing that only they both knew. Completely recovered. Thanks for asking. Truth be told, back when Kurogane was burned thanks to Bakugo, when they arrived at the infirmary, Izuku crumbled holding his cat ears tightly in pain. He was putting a facade in the classroom. Why did his ears hurt? For the same reason Kurogane got burned, Katsuki's explosions. Especially the one that was so close to his face, it hurt his now so sensible eardrums, but no one needed to know such weakness to exploit, especially not Bakugo. Each classmate exchanged goodbyes and went on their ways. Now, an hour later, Izuku was outside of his apartment complex wearing his green tracksuit. Today was a day to rest the muscles, which had meant his only exercise for the day was jogging. At least he could use his weight bracelets for this. Ready. Go! As Nico gave the green light, he was shot forward. Even if he said he was jogging, to any bystander Midoriya looked like he was full running. Of course, he didn't pay attention to this due to him being on autopilot. The teenager was currently thinking about something more interesting. He was thinking about how to apply the quirks of his classmates into hero work, and all was thanks to Nobime. It wasn't until he finished with his last classmate that he noticed something was wrong. Izuku came to a halt after seeing that he didn't recognize the streets. Eh? He looked in every direction, but he couldn't recognize anything. AMI. In another prefecture? Everything seemed to point to that conclusion. How much did I jog? And as expected, Nico was laughing her ass off at his expenses. XOX. A certain boy from a certain school walked down the street deep in his own thoughts. If I compare myself to her, I'm just so dull and boring. I mean, my quirk is just hardening. He had black hair just under shoulder length with some shorter bangs between his eyes, with a small scar just above his right eye. The name of this boy was Ijiro Kirishima. To be honest, I'm just lame. But whenever I see someone like Ashido, something inside me thinks, if I was flashier or had a stronger quirk, would I be more confident? Would I be able to say I'm aiming for you, AS Heroics departments? He was in self-loathing. He had put a facade of him being strong and manly when he was not. He couldn't stop bullying. Not like Mina Ashido. In the middle of his self-loathing, a thump stopped him in his track. Snapping his head, he was able to see a giant, so to speak. The giant was covered by a hooded cloak and had a radio tied with a rope hanging from his neck. The hell is that? Was everything Ijiro could think. The giant looked like he was intimidating two teenagers. Wait, those kids are from my middle school. Where are the hero offices of Springer? The giant asked the girls, but they were clearly too afraid to answer. So, you won't tell me? Growing impatience, the giant stretched out his left hand to the building at the back of the girl, and gripped it, making the building to crack. It was clear to everyone around that the giant was going to collapse the building over the girl. Oh shit. Why is it only times like these when there isn't a hero on patrol? Kirishima cursed in his head somebody. He looked around, but everyone was too afraid to do something. No. Not somebody. You do it. Go. Jump in and. But he couldn't even move a muscle. He was too afraid to do something as well. Why won't you tell me? The giant asked, bringing his hand down. It was in the last moment that a pink girl jumped in front of the giant, sweating bullets. Kirishima recognized her. Mina Ashido, again, was there to save the day. The girl opened her mouth to say something, but I know where it is. A shout came out of nowhere, paralyzing everyone, even the girl who jumped to the rescue. XOX. Mina Ashido has seen everything from the start. How the giant approached the girls from her class, and how he was about to crush them. She was too scared like everyone else, but seeing how she was about to lose her friends made her body to act on its own. Before she knew it, she was in front of the giant ready to spat a random direction to get the giant away. Then why? Why did her mind go blank when she heard a voice speak before her? Her unique bright yellow eyes with black scara were shot immediately at the person who intervened before her. In fact, everyone's eyes were directed to the same person, even the giant turned his head away from the three girls. I know where are the offices of Springer. It was a green-haired boy in a tracksuit, who sported cat features, making it clear that it was his quirk. The cat boy had let out a sigh to calm down. He was sweating like everyone who has witnessed the scene, but Mina knew better. It was because she was a highly active girl that she knew that sweat wasn't because he was afraid, but because he had been working out. His face looked pretty calm and gentle. How is he so calm in a situation like this? Ashido shouted in her head out of frustration due to not being able to comprehend him. Follow me, sir. The boy said as he approached the giant as if it was something normal. The boy stopped between the giant and the girls. He turned his head at the girls whose legs were glued in place due to their fear and smiled. Their legs faltered, making the three girls fall on their knees as they were able to breathe again. They haven't realized that they stopped breathing a while ago. Their eyes began to create tears, unable to look away from that smile. It made them feel safe. It shouted to them everything is okay now. I'll take care of this. The boy said, taking them out of their stupor. You should go home. It looked like a suggestion, but to them, it sounded like an order. His head turned again to the giant who was still there watching this unfold. Shall we go? The giant nodded. Lead the way. And just like that, the cat boy and the frightening giant left the scene. When they were out of sight, the normal atmosphere returned. The three girls hugged each other and began to cry uncontrollably. They thought they were going to die. You think that guy is going to be okay? One of the girls asked Mina. They have already calmed down. The pink girl looked in the direction they disappeared. Who in their sane judgment would go alone with that monster? She seriously didn't know. That boy was probably as crazy as that giant, but he saved their lives and she was extremely thankful to him. I hope so, she said, worried. Ijiro Kirishima, who had seen everything unfold, was at the point of doing the opposite of his quirk. He was going to crumble. Why didn't you go? He was frozen in place. Compensate with my manly heart? Yeah, right. The image of his hero Crimson Riot came to his head. I don't even jump into the fray when others are in trouble. I ain't a man, or anything else. He was seriously crumbling in his self-loathing as he crumpled a paper in his right hand, a paper where it says he was going to apply to you, hi. XOX. Izuku Midoriya looked calm, however, in the inside he was in complete alert mode. The guy who was following him was dangerous, and too strong. It was a common instinct to fight or flight, but he could feel none. They were simply not an option because he knew that either way was death. Although, even if he could take one of those, he wouldn't have done it anyway. He couldn't leave someone else to deal with this guy, nor he could let him roam freely. That was why he decided to go with the giant. Izuku didn't know where the offices of Springer were, but it was obvious that this guy wasn't going there to ask for help. That's why he interfered before the girl said something. If she gave him the right direction, who knows what catastrophe that would become. That's why even if he knew the direction, he wouldn't lead him there. Giving him a random direction wasn't an option either, because it meant that someone else would have to deal with this guy. Midoriya was in the biggest pinch of his life. Should I still try and fight? Don't even think on that. Nico screamed furiously at him for even consider that option. You're just an ant at his feet. This guy can kill you in less than a second. Then what should I do? He shouted, his patience becoming thinner. I need to lead this guy to a deserted place. I'm not going to leave him around people. Nico was biting her claws because she couldn't argue with that. Being so noble was a problem for Izuku, that was for sure. Then something caught her attention. Izuku, I think I know this place. She began to recognize the streets. Yeah. I know how to go to a place devoid of people. Just follow my lead. Izuku couldn't question her on how did she know, not right now. They continue walking for who knows how much. The silence was so awkward that Izuku's good nature took over his mouth. My name is Izuku Midoriya. What's yours, sir? He spoke. What are you doing? Nico scolded him. Sorry. My mouth just moved on its own. They hoped that the guy wouldn't get angry for that. ****. You may call me Gigantomachia. The giant spoke, taking them by surprise. That sounds so cool. You said that out loud, dumbass. Seriously, if this guy didn't kill Izuku, she would. Thanks. This guy, incredibly polite. Izuku couldn't help but think that. He also could believe that Gigantomachia talked to him this way, without being reserved about it. Well, you have that effect on people. It worked on me, but also our quirk can boost that in many ways. Nico answered him. They walked for a little more until they got to an intersection. This is where we depart, Gigantomachia-san, Izuku said. Follow this road for about 10 streets and then turn to the right. You're going to find it 3 kilometers away. the boy said with confidence. The giant nodded. Thank you. He began to walk. Everything I do is for the Lord, the man commented as he left. Unknown to the boy, the giant acknowledged him. He wouldn't be forgotten. Be that good or bad was unknown in the future. Midoriya couldn't help but let a sigh of relief. Do you know how to get home? Sorry, I only know the direction that thing is walking, Nico said apologetically. How did you know that direction? And you sounded like if you knew him too. No. I do not know him and that direction. Ugh. How did I know that direction? There are so many blanks. It hurts. She sounded in pain. Stop, stop. I don't distrust you. Don't worry about it, he said in a hurry. He had already noticed it. When she told him her story, there was stuff that didn't match, but now it was clear. Nico has partial amnesia. Do you think I could ever defeat someone like him? He asked, trying to take her out of that state. Yes, not now, but in the future. You'll need to train more. She told him. That's all you have to said. Izuku readied his mind for more training. Now. He looked around him. How do I get home from here? The cat boy asked out loud to himself. You're lost, kid? Okay, he certainly didn't expect an answer to that. His eyes darted at his side, at the floor. There he found a man, probably around his 20s, looking back at him. The man in question was wearing an all-white-haired hooded jacket, with a black mask covering his face, red sunglasses, and bike protective gear. However, that wasn't the odd part. Strangely enough, the odd part was that he was crawling in 4. It actually looked like a cockroach. Yay! Izuku's mind was in blank. Where are you going? I know pretty much everything in the city. The man said confidently. It seemed like a pretty chill dude. The green-haired teen told him how he got there and where he wanted to go back. Oh yeah, I know where it is. The strange man proceeded to tell the way to his home. Ah, thank you. Gentleman, Izuku said. Oh, you know me? The man smiled at Izuku, who nodded with a smile on his face too. But man, there's been ages since someone calls me that. I'm now known as the Hauler. Izuku interrupted him. The crawly ear. The man shouted mad at him. Sorry, I know, I was just joking, Crawler-san, Izuku said almost laughing. Haha, well I'm not laughing, am I? The vigilante asked. You just did. Don't get smart with me, boy. Those words came out like bullets. Ha ha, ha ha. It's unfortunate that I don't have my notebook. I would have liked you to give me your signature. Izuku said the crawler was, at least for him, the best vigilante. Midoriya had heard from his mother that the unique illegal hero had helped her a few times with directions in the past, so it was kind of ironic that he was here doing the same for him. The vigilante looked at a piece of paper in the road at 10 meters away. In no time he glided and came back to where he was. Here, you can have it. The kind man gave the cat boy the paper already with his signature. Not every day I met someone who recognizes me so easily, let alone asked for my signature. He was flattered. Thank you very much. Izuku exclaimed. You have an awesome quirk, Crawler-san. Ha ha, the man scratched the back of his head, embarrassed. Hey, Izuku Midoriya. The boy introduced himself. Midoriya, if you want, I can give you a ride to your home, ring ring. The crawler pointed his back until the sound of his phone stopped him. Give me a sec. Izuku nodded. Yellow Kazuo, yeah, MHM. Oh, okay, I'm on my way. Love you. He hanged off and gave an apologetic look to Midoriya. Sorry, Midoriya. My girlfriend needs me and... Don't worry about it. I was planning to go home jogging anyways. the greenhead reassures the vigilante. Aha, all right then. The illegal hero went back to his crouching position. By the way, the name is Koichi Himawari. See you later. He shouted as he glided away, leaving Midoriya there. What a strange fellow, commented Nico. But he is awesome. Meeting his favorite vigilante sure was nice after everything that happened with Gigantomachia. His second favorite vigilante was Popstep, but that didn't matter right now. XOX. Finally, the time passed. It was now the 5th month since he got his quirk. Izuku was currently in Dagoba Beach. 492. 493. He was doing squats, something pretty normal, except it wasn't normal at all. Over his shoulder, he was carrying something that a teenager shouldn't be carrying. Izuku was lifting a 4x4 van. How did the van get to the beach was a mystery, but it sure was a great tool to exercise. But why he was doing this? Because this van was the last junk to take out of the beach. 500. Izuku shouted but didn't let go of the van. It was time to clean, even if his legs were to the point of breaking. As he finally put it down, he looked at the rising sun in the horizon, sweeping away the sweat on his forehead. Thanks, Izuku. Nico's words were more than enough for him. Time to go to the next level, the cat boy said with a confident smile on his face. XOX. You sure about this? Death Arms asked the teen. Don't hold anything back, shouted Izuku back. They were in Dagoba Beach as Izuku requested. Something that he lacked until this point was something very important for heroes. Combat training. And what partner could have been better than a pro hero? They both launched at each other at the same time. And of course, as expected, Izuku got his ass whopped multiple times to the point he literally ate dirt. Now, Death Arms was drinking water while Izuku panted erratically, his body plastered on the sand. I thought this beach was filled with junk. The pro wondered out loud. Yeah, pant. Apparently someone pant clean it by themselves, Midoriya said while trying to regain his breath. So, he is unaware of the rumor that says that this place was cleaned by a green cat boy. Death Arms thought as a smile crept to his face. Not even going to take credit for this, Midoriya? I mean, who else fits in that description? To him, the kid was already more heroic than some pros out there. Ready for another round? At that, the greenhead jumped in his legs, still panting. Bring it! XOX. Ouch, said Midoriya, his body has never felt so sore. The boy was preparing to go to sleep. I swear to God, he used those spars to punish me more for saving Abawami. And he was not wrong. Soon after, he fell asleep. His eyes opened again, but this time in his mindscape. So, Nico's voice caught his attention. Next level, huh? Izuku chuckled at that, he just had started. Okay, what do you want me to do? Can you control my mindscape to recreate different scenes? He asked. Yep. She grinned. I want you to create different scenarios with disasters, incidents, and even villain attacks with heroes to counteract said incidents. He finally told her. I have seen my fair share of incidents in the past, but for what? The feline asked the real question. I have 14 notebooks of hero analysis. But that is simple not enough. It needs to be more practical. Izuku began to explain. I want to be able to come up with a plan and solution for every situation as soon as possible. Got it. But why the heroes too? Heroes are paired with each other randomly, and our quirk is not going to be the solution for everything. I want to be able to use other people's quirk the most efficiently possible to gain their maximum output to save as many people as we can. The boy finished. This idea came to his mind after the incident with Gigantomachia. He could never again leave something like that to pure luck, it wasn't something reliable. Nico was astonished by him. She couldn't know if she was talking with a middle schooler or a pro hero anymore. "Ha? Then, shall we begin?" He nodded. "Also, I have prepared other kinds of training for you to do here as well. Whatever it is." He clenched his fist and smiled. "I'll give my everything and go beyond that." "You're already doing that." Certainly, Izuku Midoriya was now the embodiment of Plus Ultra. XOX. The fifth mount almost ended. It was 8:30 in the evening and Izuku was on his way home from helping Mei with their babies. "Grol Ak, so hungry," Izuku commented when he heard his stomach. "The boy hasn't eaten anything since 12. I can't wait to get home." But then something caught his eyes. "Hey, old man just gave it up." A man, no, a thug with his mob of 5 friends were intimidating an old man around his 60s. "My friends and I are pretty hungry, so just lend us what you got there." They were trying to take the old man's groceries against his will. The worst thing was that this scene was unfolding on a wide alleyway in broad light for any passerby to see it. The why? Why is no one doing anything? With horror in his eyes, Izuku looked at every passerby, but all of them were just ignoring it on purpose, not because they were frightened, it was because they simply didn't care. "Help, someone." The old man's call for help made Izuku's eyes start to tear up. Why, even after that, nobody stopped and helped him. "It's useless, old man. Everyone knows already," the thug said with a smug. "It's because you're quirkless." Those words hit Izuku like a truck. I mean, who gives a crap about a quirkless nobody, am I right? He asked his mob, who began to laugh. "So, give it up." The thug kicked the man, knocking him down. That was the last straw. His own fangs gritted to the point of almost breaking. His fists were clenched so tightly that his claws have perforated his palms, drawing blood out. Only one thought was in Izuku's mind. This society is rotten. Ha ha ha, this old dude is so worthless that not even a hero would care for him, said the thug. Like a ghost, a silhouette passed his side in the direction of the old man and crouched. It was a green-haired boy with cat ears over his head. "Are you okay, sir?" the boy asked, giving a hand to the old man. "Thanks." The old man stopped in his track when he saw the blood on the boy's hand and looked up. The kindest and heartwarming smile was on the face of that boy. They both got up. Kid. What do you think you're doing?" The thug looked pissed. The mob just thought that the kid was crazy and began to laugh. "We were having some fun with that." "Get lost before we—" The thug stopped mid-sentence when the cat boy turned around to see him. The man began to shake. The light created a shadow just in the eyes of the boy, but that didn't matter. Those green emerald orbs shined through it. Actually, they could only see 2 green dots staring back at them. What the shadow didn't cover was from his nose down, which had meant that they could have a great look at those dangerous fangs. Everyone was paralyzed in fear, in complete terror. Not only the thug and his mob, but every passerby who was in sight. The message was clear for everyone. Continue with that, and you will be devoured. Not hurt, not killed. Devoured. It was a primordial fear written in the subconscious of every living creature. And there was when humans were reminded about it. No one could move, no one could breathe, no one could fight. Not against something that was classified as the ultimate predator by the mind. They could only wait there to be harvested. Izuku was out of his mind, and the predatory growl that came from his mouth was full proof of it. He could already visualize himself pouncing the thug and sinking his fangs on his throat. "Stopped, Izuku." Nico was trying to stop him. She was lucky he could hear her, but the boy couldn't calm down. This whole situation had struck too close to home. "I know. Use that. That." His right hand moved slowly to his back pocket and pulled something out. It was that thorny vine, vine that remained formed the flower crown. His lucky charm. He put it close to his face and started to sniff it. All his muscles relaxed, his claws have retracted, Izuku returned to his normal state of mind. Then his eyes grew in disgust. "Aya!" He screamed in horror. Pant, he started hyperventilating. His heart rate began to increase, faster and faster. If he didn't stop, he was going to have a heart attack. "Calm down, Izuku. You're not a monster. You didn't do anything wrong." Nico tried again, and again it failed. "Use it again. Use that charm again." It helped. Why? Why did I? How could I even think about? Midoriya was too afraid of himself. "Calm down. I guess it's my fault. I made it sound as if the drawbacks of this quirk were something stupid." Nico said. "Remember this. Even the lion who was raised by humans is destined to attack them out of instincts when he's hungry." Those words echoed his head. Our quirk can make you that lion, Izuku. Never forget it. She let those words sink in. Things like hunger can make you easily lose control thanks to your instincts, and if you add a strong negative emotion to the mix like anger, it's the worst combination possible. Everyone around the teen was coming back to normal, even the thugs who were pissed now that they saw the boy wasn't dangerous. What happened? Is someone in trouble? A black-haired boy came out of the corner. Eijiro Kirishima had heard the scream and came to the rescue. And what he saw was a bunch of thugs intimidating an old man and another teen. Then he recognized the cat boy and knew that he probably came to save the old man as well. "You bastards. What do you think you're doing?" Eijiro questioned as he hit his fists together, making them harden. "Hold there, kid." An authoritarian voice came from behind the teen. When Kirishima looked over his shoulder, he saw an extremely short, elderly man that had short spiky hair and a beard with a cane. The man was wearing a hero costume of some sort which consisted of a full-body monochrome suit along with a yellow cape, a belt with the letter G on it, very thick yellow gloves and boots, and a dark domino mask which resembled two diamonds. The elder passed Kirishima. Seriously. I came all the way here because my student needed some advice, and on my way home what do I find? A bunch of stupid youngsters who forgot who to show some proper respect to their elders." The old man mumbled as he approached the thugs. "Ha! What are you mumbling, old man?" The leader of the thugs lost his patience, launching himself at the elder with a knife. "Watch out!" Izuku and Eijiro screamed in worry. Poof! In less than a second, the elder was crushing the thug under his feet against the ground, leaving the two teens with their mouth hanging. It seems all of you need a lesson. In the next seconds, the elder proceeded to knock out all the mobs. Poof! Seriously, youth these days. Making me strain these old bones of mine. Nobody has some consideration nowadays. This old geezer, whoever he was amazing. You! He pointed at Kirishima with his cane. Why yes. It caught him off guard, straightening himself. Help your elders with the groceries. The man pointed at the quirkless elder. All right away, sir, Eijiro responded with a salute like a soldier hearing orders from a superior. And you? He now pointed at Izuku. Why yes, sir. Midoriya gave the same response. Follow me, I'll need help with mine. The elder began to walk away. Both teens went to help in what they were ordered, crossing their path and looking at one another for the first time in the eyes. They both nodded at each other at the same time and went to complete their tasks. There wasn't a need for word between them, after all, they had a conversation in just an instant. Because a simple nod of the head is the international language between men, depending on if it was upward or downward, it can't mean different things. What Kirishima said to Izuku with his nod was, I acknowledge your manliness. See you around. What Midoriya said to Eijiro with his nod was, I acknowledge your heroism. See you later. They were true men. Izuku had been following the elder around until they stopped in a street where nobody was around. "Hey, brat." The old man called his attention. "I think you already figure it out that I didn't bring you here to carry my groceries, don't you?" "Yes," was the only response Izuku could give. "You were going to kill those men, you understand that, right?" The old geezer hasn't even turned around to say those words, but he already knew what was the face of the boy. Yes. The boy couldn't deny it. No matter how much he wished to say no. "I was about to knock you out for good, but at least you showed some self-control," the man continued. "Thanks. That wasn't a compliment, kid." That answer displeased the old man, and he showed it when he turned around. "I know. I was thanking you for being there, ready to stop me." Izuku's eyes didn't lie about it. He would have rather be killed immediately than do what he was about to. It froze him in place just to think about it. "Tell me, kid. About your quirk." That wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. "Yes." Izuku proceeded to tell him about his quirk. "You say you started training 5 months ago?" The man received a nod. "Why now? Shouldn't you have worked on it since you were little?" The old man narrowed his eyes to pay extreme attention to the boy. "I was quirkless until 5 months ago, sir," he confessed. "Now I see why you acted as you did back there, but that still doesn't excuse you for what you intended." Another nod from the teen. "How did you gain your quirk?" "Someone gave it to me, sir." This put the old man in an alert. "Who gave it to you? Was it a man in a suit with great injuries?" "What?" "No. She died that same day." The boy looked like he was going to crumble just by saying that. "She was someone really important, hick to me." He began to cry in the spot. So, it wasn't him. The man thought. "Sorry for making you remember something painful." This wasn't a random conversation. The man, Gran Torino, didn't ask those questions randomly. He didn't bring a random kid who he just met to scold him. XOX. A few hours early, at Ulet High. Oi, Toshinori. You seriously brought me here just to know how to talk to a teenager boy. What are you, a middle schooler? Gran Torino scolded his former student. No, not at all. It's just that. I crushed that boy's dreams. Me, the symbol of peace. I'm going to be a teacher in 5 months. I want to be able to understand my students more. Toshinori Yagi was a disaster right now. Asterisk psi asterisk okay, tell me about this kid. The former teacher asked. After a brief explanation. Wait. You said this kid was quirkless. But now you're telling me that the last time you saw him again he had a mutant-type quirk? The man asked angrily. Yes, that's right. Confirmed Yagi. That means he didn't lie, but... It never came to your head that this may be the doing of him? Those words froze the blond man in place. No, sir. How did he overlook something like that? This is the problem with you, Toshinori. You get easily blinded by your emotions. Gran Torino yelled. I think I can go in. Stop. The little elder interrupted him. Because you feel guilty towards him, you could be easily deceived for him if he is really under the influence of that person. But if it's really is true, then I'm responsible for him turning into a 6. Toshinori couldn't even bring himself to say the word. See, this is what I'm talking about. Those words froze the symbol of peace. Give me a description of the kid. I'll see what I can do. It was an order. XOX. Back to the present. Gran Torino was really lucky he found the kid the same day. And felt a great relief now that he knew that the kid wasn't a villain. Sir. Izuku's voice brought the former teacher to reality. It's someone out there that can grant quirks? That caught the old man by surprise. This kid was smarter and sharper than he gave credit for. Not bad traits for a hero. Oh, no. It was just this old man ranting nonsense. Don't pay me too much attention. He dismissed quickly. Izuku didn't show it, but he didn't buy it. If someone out there could grant quirks, could they give quirks to the quirkless to stop the discrimination? He hoped so. How naive he was. Hey, kid. Gran Torino called him. What do you want to be when you grow up? A hero, sir. There wasn't a glimpse of hesitation on him, and the old man approved. Tell me, kid. The man continued. What are your thoughts on All Might? That was a strange question for the boy. He is a great hero, who I admire, sir, Izuku said with a smile. The same bright smile of his former student. You don't have anything to worry about, Toshinori. The old geezer thought while smiling. By the way. Who are you, brat? That startled Izuku. They had this important conversation and they hadn't even exchanged names. Izuku Midoriya. Who? I Izuku Midoriya. Sir. What were we talking about, brat? The old man really looked clueless. We were talking about my quirks and Izuku couldn't help but think this old geezer had Alzheimer's. Ah, whatever. Gran Torino turned around but then noticed that the kid was still following. What do you want from me, brat? Stop following me or I'll kick your ass. Right. Sorry, sir. Izuku apologized. Did he seriously forgot everything that happened? Then he remembered something. Sir, what's your name? The old geezer smiled. You can call me Gran Torino. Midoriya won't forget that. Oh, and, kid. Eat something, you look like you need it. Yes, sir. The boy made a grim face at that. They departed from each other and went their own ways. XOX. Izuku was on his way home. Nico. He called her name. Do you think I could move like Gran Torino back in the alleyway? Bouncing from walls at great speed. I mean, he was so cool. Oh yeah, definitely. Need a lot of training, and you're going to strain your legs, but you could do it. She answered. Izuku was so immersed in his head that he didn't say a person crossing the corner until they both hit each other. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking where I was walking. The cat boy apologized immediately. No, I wasn't looking either. The other person said. Then they both looked up. Izuku Midoriya and Eijiro Kirishima met again. You're the guy from before. Both exclaimed at the same time, pointing at each other. Want to go for a drink? Izuku offered with a smile. Sure. Eijiro smiled back. Both teenagers were now sitting on a bench of some park with beverages on their hands. So, Kirishima-kun. What's your quirk? The green-haired boy asked. He just finished talking about his own and his dream of becoming a hero. It's nothing that amazing like yours. In fact, it's not flashy at all. The black-haired boy was timid about it. Just show me, Izuku said with a smile. Okay. It's just hardening, nothing great. Eijiro hardened his right arm. Oh wow, that looks so cool. Those words weren't the ones Kirishima was expecting. Can I touch it? Izuku looked at him with sparkles in his eyes. Sure. Wow, this thing is amazing. Excuse me for this, Kirishima-kun. Without even letting the other teen to response, Izuku scratched it with his claws. Aha! Not even a scratch. It wasn't out of ill intention, so the hardening boy let it slip. And you can do this with all your body? Kirishima nodded. You could be such a cool hero with this quirk. Someone like Crimson Riot. Izuku was flabbergasted. You really think that? Kirishima couldn't believe it. Of course. Midoriya beamed at him without a doubt in his face. You could become something like an unbreakable shield that makes everyone around you to feel safe. Izuku continued. And you jump back there without a trace of fear to save that grandpa. You have everything to become a great hero. Those last words hit a nerve. I don't see it like that. That depressed tone stopped Izuku on his track. I have seen you before, Midoriya. The boy continued. I saw you stop that giant from crushing those two girls a while back. I was there and I couldn't do anything. Kirishima was clenching his fist in frustration. Izuku's face grew in horror, the face that Kirishima was making. He had seen it before, he had seen it on himself. It hurts here. The black-haired boy grasped his heart. The pain of me being worthless. The pain of my regret. Izuku finished for him. How did you? This time was Kirishima's face who grew in horror when he saw Midoriya. Because of me. Something really bad happened to someone. And couldn't do anything. Why was he crying again? He had done it so many times this day. Why? Stop. This is not about you. He forced himself to stop and cleaned his tears. I had felt that regret too. But I now use it as my motivation to become a great hero. Izuku gave a fearless smile. But you don't have fear. I was paralyzed by it. Kirishima continued in his self-loathing. Midoriya stood up and looked at the sky. You're wrong. I live in fear. But my fear is no longer for my safety. I live in fear of not being capable of saving others. Those words hit Kirishima harder than even his own quirk could have ever gone. That's why I can't stay still when I see someone in danger, and that's why. Izuku turned and put his hand on Eijiro's head and gave him the best smile he could. I know you can become a great hero, Kirishima-kun. Tears appeared on the hardening boy. The image of his hero, Crimson Riot, overlapped Izuku's. It was like if his hero was the one who said those words. Because you know the pain of that regret. That's why you and I are one and the same. You and I are. Izuku put his fist up. Kirishima smiled and did the same. Brothers. They both bumped their fist at the same time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. Goodbye.